7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to those in the audience and those at home. We'll get right to our agenda. We're going to pass over item number 3, which are the minutes. And we'll go to item 4, legal bills for April. Mr. Fode.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve legal bills for April 2013 in the amount of $9,824.05 as follows. Copeland and Page General, $9,482.05. Copeland and Page Labor, $342. Total, $9,824.05.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, 1 absent. Anyone here for public comment? Item 6, meet with National Grid, policy of gas service extensions. How did I know? Good evening.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Thank you very much.
You'll be home in time for the Bruins.
I'm more concerned about the Red Sox.
You're more concerned about
okay.
Oh.
My name is Kathy Moore. I am newly appointed as the Community and Customer Manager for North Reading on behalf of National Grid. I was just appointed last month, so I'm new in the role, but I'm looking forward to working with you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and address whatever questions you have. I do come from the electric side of the business, so I'm fortunate to have Wayne Burgess, who's my coworker here. He has extensive gas experience, and anything that we're not able to address tonight, I'd be happy to follow up with after the meeting and get back with you.
What's the last name, Kathy?
It's Moore. It's
Moore.
spelled M-O-A-R, and my first
Oh.
name's Kathy with the K.
I got that right.
Very good. Okay. Mr. O'Leary, was it your request? I think the board as a
Sure.
whole, but is
Yeah.
your request? I'll let you go first.
There has not been much of an effort on the part of the National Grid to even approach us for expansion of gas lines. In addition to that, when we have opportunities to expand gas lines, as we're working on other roads and things of that nature, we've been getting feedback that they're not too receptive unless the potential customers are willing to pay along the way. And we have a specific incidents where we have a new subdivision or extension of a subdivision coming down into Charles Street, which is right off of Haverhill Street. So you probably have, I don't know, 500 or 600 feet of a section of Charles Street. The existing Charles Street is not connected. The gas line goes right up Haverhill Street. The gas line is coming down from the subdivision into the newer section and stopping, according to the plan. And our representatives have approached National Grid and asked them to consider putting it in, and we're told, thanks, but no thanks. That's of concern.
Mhm.
In years past, it's been quite a few years ago, we had a similar meeting whereby we actually laid out the maps of the town as to where the lines were. And when it was in the gas company's interest to get the Hood School tied in, they were willing to run close to a mile and a half of line in order to get that customer, when the original petition was to just cut through Westwood Circle, which is a few hundred feet. But at the town's insistence and the previous board's insistence, if you want it, provide some other opportunities for other people to tie in. Again, when we have public health issues in relation to, there's still some underground tanks in town that are still buried there. People who are looking, because of the cost of oil, to do the alternative in relation to natural gas. And they're being denied the opportunity to do it because of the unwillingness of the utility to assist in creating the opportunities. So, always interested to hear how, why, and why not.
Well, the only thing I can possibly tell you to answer that, I got the question from Mike Sarangan to take a look at that. And unfortunately, it's changed substantially from 25 and 30 years ago. I used to work out here back in the 70s and 80s as well. I've been doing this for 39 years. The industry's changed dramatically. Construction costs, as you well know, has escalated. They've gone out of sight in the last 10 to 15 years. So the company's devised a program. It's called our internal rate of return, where we take on all our districts in the state. They've done an average cost, depending on what it involves, in the construction side of it. Also, we're regulated by the DPU, and our rate of return, we're required to charge a certain percentage that's built into that. And what I normally do is I'll go out, in this case, I measure the street. It was 560 feet of main we had to run, and there were 7 existing homes. So normally we'll do an initial visit to see what type of an interest we have, and I'll usually incorporate all 7 homes to come up with a cost. And, that would be 7 services to 560 feet of main, and it come out to $40-something thousand, which was like $6,000 a customer. And that's just a rate of return program we have that they've instituted, and that's what we utilize now. So like I mentioned, the costs have changed dramatically in the past 10 to 15 years. It's a program we run now, and that's the same for every town we do business with, and that's pretty much how we deal with it now. We really don't run any main anymore, for free and expansion and stuff.
The unfortunate part is that you have a monopoly on the business here, so that if other people were looking for alternatives and alternative providers, it's not there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they can go out and piggyback, like with the cable, and shop around a little bit, whether it be Verizon or Comcast. At least there's a little bit of choice here. But when it comes to natural gas, you have a monopoly on it, and as a result, your rate of return is far greater than I believe what you're calculating. You're looking at it from an initial, what's going to cost me to do it today, not down the line and what's the return going to be as people tie in. Again, even on those 7 homes that are there, not all of them may tie in now, but as the homes turn over, other people have, a desire to do so.
Well, some of that's built into the program. We recoup revenue, receive revenue on it, so that is accounted for. But again, unfortunately, with the costs being what they are, it's all a program that they've come up with, and that's what we run with right now. That's pretty much the accepted thing we have. And
Accepted by whom?
well, the company.
Not the communities.
Pardon?
Not the communities, and
Well,
not the consumers.
I understand that. It's like anything else. It's just a program they've devised. Again, they've built in all the construction costs and everything that's into the program, and we have to charge a rate of returns required by the DPU. So that's our program we have.
When you say that you have to apply a rate of
When
return,
we go to a rate case, we go for a rate case to ask for a rate increase, we can only charge that's incorporated into these programs, whatever the requirement is. I don't know what that is. I don't have that available. So that's because we just can't do it for absolutely nothing. So that's all equated into the rate of return program that we've come up with.
and then as far as sharing costs with communities, how's that work? For instance, again, this not that it's being offered, but if the town of North Reading says, you know what, we've got 560 feet here in order to connect it, we'll split it with you. What would the response be from the utility?
It would probably be what I initially quoted for a cost.
But we would split it with you.
They'd still have to pay the total amount.
Yeah, I think at this point, and Wayne certainly has far more expertise at this. I'm relatively new to the gas field. I do understand that our current pricing structure was created years ago when the gas market was very different. We have a lot more demand for gas growth now, and it's hugely important to the company as well. It's certainly not our intention to deny gas service to customers. And I actually asked about this today in preparation for the meeting. The company absolutely recognizes that this is an issue and that we need to change the pricing structure. It has to be approved by our regulators. It's something that they are working aggressively on, but it's not something that happens quickly. I don't have a time frame on when it might change.
What is it exactly they're working on?
On a different pricing structure rather than, right now, the way the costs are structured. If, let's say, on that street where 7 homes are in the process of being built, I guess.
No,
They're
They're
built.
existing homes.
they're existing
Existing
homes.
homes.
The
So-
new homes are going to get the gas service.
I see.
Haverhill Street
I see.
has the gas service, and these 7 homes
Very
are
dead.
isolated.
That are already there.
So you're
can't
going to have a
convert.
dead end at the top of the street, 560 feet from
Yeah.
the other main that runs right by the street.
So one thing that the company is looking at is rather than, so say just one person on that street wanted to convert, they'd bear the full costs of us going down that street. So they're looking at ways to make that more financially feasible for somebody, rather than one person bearing the costs and then 6 others joining a year later, without cost. That's a problem. The company recognizes that. So you know, it's like I said, I don't have a date for you when things are going to change, and I don't know exactly what a new structure would look like, but I can tell you with absolute sincerity that the company recognizes that the current pricing structure is an issue.
Yeah, and again, the lack of, excuse me.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
no, it's-
Keep going.
You know, the lack of willingness on the part of National Grid to work with communities where you're already operating to allow for expansion unless a private homeowner steps up and pays.
Yeah.
And you have a monopoly.
Well,
It isn't right. It isn't in the consumer's best interest, because again, they should be given the choices. We've allowed you over the years, when you come in and sought the expansion over the years, we certainly embraced it, because some people wanted the gas. Also promoted some competition in relation to, oil and gas, and at the time, it was pretty even,
Sure.
And at one point, I think gas was a little bit more. But give people the choices, and now it's not even available to them unless they step up and pay substantial amounts of money. And my question to you as to whether or not the company is willing to share some of the responsibility or cost with the community. Say if we decided to undertake a capital improvement plan where we wanted to connect some of these other existing subdivisions, and there are a number of them in the community, that the gas lines went right by the streets, the end of the street. The answer is no,
We do
You're not
have a-
willing to share any of the costs,
Yeah.
which would provide you with the profit, not us.
Yeah.
It would give our residents a choice and give them another opportunity. And you're still saying no. There's something wrong with that.
Well, it's not necessarily, no, you say that. I
No, you
know
said that.
You don't agree with we do require contribution, and there are people willing to pay it. So we are continuing to run Maine and other towns and expand our
How many have you done here?
distribution.
In the last 5 years?
In Reading, North Reading, I don't know, I don't cover all of it, but, I mean, we have a number of these that we are working on in other towns that are going forth where they are paying money.
Generally, it'd be a new subdivision.
Subdivisions.
New subdivision with a developer which is figuring it into the cost and
Yeah.
part of their infrastructure.
Existing stuff as well. That's all I do all day long, is I travel the whole state and I do all the existing stuff in the company. All the existing mains on that particular street exactly. And we do have a number of them that are happening. Is the cost, could it change? Hopefully it may change and be beneficial for everybody in the future. It may take some time to work on the program, but as of now, the program we're running with is the program we're utilizing.
And I think what's seen as our unwillingness to work with the town to split the cost is more an obligation where we're obliged to charge the rates that have been approved by the regulators. We can't change our pricing structure or reduce our rates, on our own accord, or make sort of not side agreements, because I don't mean it to sound negative, but we can't
No, I look at that as a positive.
change
Believe
it
it or not.
town by town. And I see your point, I'm not blind to that. I see where you're coming from. And I understand it from a consumer perspective. I get that if I wanted to convert and it was gonna cost me $49,000, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I get that that's an issue. But our costs are regulated and approved by the DPU. So, and when I say that, it's not a fallback, it's not an excuse as to why we won't work with you, but it's the fact that we can't stray from that. We can't make side deals. We'd have to go and get new rates approved by the regulators.
Could you provide us with those rates that are, I
That
suppose,
are
is it
approved by the regulators?
DPU or whoever it is, right? Who is it, who are the regulators that you answer to?
Well, it's the
Department.
Department of Public Utilities, when we go through a rate case, we have to go to them and they sit down and.
But these
It's a couple
rates, in
years
relation
preparation for a
to
rate case.
what you've determined, how you've determined to pass the costs on in total now to the consumer at a definitive point in time, like right now, as
Okay.
opposed to over a long period of time. Before, the utility would make an investment in order to lay out the lines in order to get a return and have all the customers. Now what I'm hearing is, we're not interested in expanding the lines, unless, into an existing, say subdivision, unless the consumer's willing to pay for that upfront right now.
Well, they're not burdening the entire cost of the project. they're not paying for everything. Like I said, there is a part, the company is subsidizing part of this as well in that program.
Or the
It's all- it's all
$40,000 that you're
formula
talking
worked out.
about, what's the total cost of the project?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just input all the information. We don't provide all that stuff anyways. We don't have that for
Well,
public
I mean,
knowledge.
in order for us to get a clearer picture, I would like to know, what the structure is, the rate
Okay.
structure is. You're telling us what the consumer would have to pay, but really, what is the cost?
So you want numbers?
You know, if it's $60,000
Well,
and you're
it-
absorbing 20 and 40,000, by, it's two-thirds.
Every job is different, though. Every job
But you
is
say the
different.
rates that you're charging have been approved by DPU, and you can't deviate from that without going before them and getting them changed.
That's true, and I can get you, anything that we file with the DPU, I believe is public, so I should be able to get you whatever it is we base those costs on.
I would
that are-
think someone from, again, for me to go in and
Hard to
research
find.
is gonna take me a
Oh,
long
no,
time.
I'm not asking you to, I'll get
Yeah.
it for you, but I'm just saying I think it's public, and I think it is something that you'll have access to. Whether it gives you the level of detail that you're looking for, I can't say, it may not, but I can certainly get you whatever document we have that's been filed that allows us to charge the current rates.
You know, my guess is that, National Grid has established a certain set of guidelines internally and presented that to the DPU as this is how we're doing it.
Yes.
As opposed to, this is what we'd like to do in order to afford an expansion of lines within existing communities and existing subdivisions. This is how we want to do it. So to me, it appears to me that it's an internal policy on the part of National Grid to take this approach, rather than DPU regulations saying, you can't do it.
It's, and I believe that you're correct, it's our policy, but we get it, it's approved by the
I know,
DPU,
but,
that's all.
but it's been
Yep.
based upon internally what you've decided, the tack that you've decided to take
Mhm.
in attracting new customers and servicing a community that already exists, as part of your universe here. And then as people are trying to get into it, it's restricting them financially,
Right.
substantially,
No, that's
as a result of your
understood.
internal policies that you've gotten approved by the DPU.
Right, and it's not our intention to restrict people financially. We're looking at, as part of the change that hopefully will come in the pricing structure, one of the things that has been discussed is building it with the hope that after the system is built, people will connect.
Which is what has happened over the past.
And that's one of the
It's
things
exactly what's
that
happening.
we're discussing. Whether or not that's what ends up happening, I don't know, but I do know that gas growth is hugely important to the company, and it's certainly not, I realize it's financially
It's
a
cost
hardship
prohibitive.
for people, and it's
Yeah.
preventing people from converting. It's not the company's intention. Gas growth is huge for the company, and they want people to connect.
Yeah, speaking of monopolizing, I'll defer.
Mr. Fode, I just have a quick question. Is there no benefit, I mean, that line's gonna be dead-ended at the end of the new development, Charles Street. There's no benefit in looping that system to Haverhill Street to you?
Probably not, no. It's a 60-pound main, that's pretty good maintained pressure out there. And again, the cost to loop all that, it's pretty expensive. To pick up one customer and spend $60,000, we don't have much for payback there as well. You get into all types of numbers, you get into price of oil, you want to get to break down your savings, and we do that with the customers as well. So, oil's double the price of customers now, so the return on their investment for them as well, their payback, depending what they have to pay, it's not a bad payback depending what has to be done. We deal with that all day long too, so, hypothetically, if you had to spend $5,000 or $6,000, you get your money back in a couple of years. On any investment, you have to agree, a 2-year payback's not a bad deal.
That could change at any point too, though.
Yes. But initially, right now, up front, if you
People
had
are
to do
gonna pay
it.
gonna make up $3,000 in 1 year in
No.
a small ranch home.
Not in those homes.
No, not in those homes.
Well, again, I'm just going on, it's stuff I do in experience. If they use 1,000 gallons of oil, they're gonna save $1,500 a year probably. They're paying $3.80 or more a gallon, which they probably are on average. The cost right now, it's like $3.30 or $4.40, but in the middle of the winter, oil can be anywhere from $3.60 to $4.25 a gallon in the past 3 years. It's been that, I deal with this all day long. But anyways, and it depends on the how much you use, if it's from 1,000. And some of your larger homes, people use 3,000 and 4,000 gallons, so there's a considerable savings for your payback for that as well.
I just need a quick clarification on something you said earlier. So you're saying, I understand your policies are approved by DPU. So in a situation like this, just saying that even if you wanted to go ahead and do it, you wouldn't be allowed to?
No, we
Would
can
have
do
to
it.
get approval from the regulators.
You're talking to change it outside of what the program is now. No, we can run anything now with the program now. And as we've said, the program we have in place now, we're doing a bunch of work across the state. So with the program, we are having some success with it. Would I like to see it better? Absolutely, because I do this all day long. I'd love to see us do every job, but the way we're set up right now is the way the program is.
No, I think maybe I didn't clarify. If you wanted to run it yourselves without charging the residents there, if, I'm just saying hypothetically, you wanted, there's a reason why we need to, or you wanted to do it, you're telling me that that DEPU would not allow that because there's.
Again, it's all built into a rate case, so when we go into a rate case and we spent X amount of dollars hypothetically on that job to put it in, and we spent, so much money, and you only have this for return, they're not gonna like that.
Yeah, I get it.
Mr. Michelle?
So it seems to me that the regulation of DPU is based on assuring that you're treating all customers the same.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
So the company policy can change.
Right.
Then you go to the DPU, get approval, and then from that point on, that policy is applied against the entire Commonwealth.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
So it would seem to me that with the supply of natural gas on an increase, and you wanted to provide more and more customers, it would seem to me that now's the time to change the policy
Mhm.
and provide some opportunity to expand. And your current policy isn't doing that. Short of new developments where basically the homeowners are paying for it, only they're paying for it as,
Cost
overall.
to buy the home.
Right.
Yeah.
We are doing a lot in other towns, and I don't, and I'm not saying, would I like to do everyone, we can run with them? Absolutely. I've been doing this since the 70s, and I've seen it change dramatically, but things have gone crazy in the last 10 or 15 years, construction costs and everything, and it's a program they've devised.
Well,
Let's see it.
Your companies has devised.
Well-
Again, it's not the
Yes,
DPU
yes.
that's
Right.
doing
Yes,
anything,
I understand
other than
that.
reacting to the proposals that you put
Other than,
forth.
Yes.
exactly, you're
Right.
right, yep.
You're right, absolutely.
And what you said is exactly correct. It's a policy that's approved by the DPU, and I think the company acknowledges that now is the time to change that, but it's a matter of how quickly it can be done and what the changes will encompass.
what's the process to go before DPU if you change your policy?
I don't know the answer to that.
Probably every rate case, next time we have a rate case.
When you say a
Rate
rate
case,
case,
what do you mean?
Well, when you go for the gas bills to see if they get their increase it, it's usually every, couple of 3 years or something, I think.
But this,
Okay.
we're not,
I
in
can
this
certainly-
particular
And
case,
in
so we're
that
talking
case-
about a policy, we're not talking about the cost of the gas itself, right? This is an issue of what percentage, whether it's 100%, 50%,
Yeah.
or whatever, that you're gonna require for the cost of any given project, right?
Construction costs,
Yes.
essentially, yeah.
well, it's the infrastructure. And again, for an existing subdivision, obviously it
Yeah.
costs more. For a new subdivision, it doesn't cost the gas company anything.
Right.
Because the developers are factoring that into the cost of the lot and the infrastructure and building the roads. So it's the existing communities such as ours, where there's gonna be very little growth in relation to new subdivisions, but we have a significant amount of the community that doesn't have gas provided to it. The policy is extremely cost prohibitive for the consumer to tie in if they so choose. And
We are absorbing some of the costs, so you keep saying, we're not paying anything. We are absorbing some of the costs,
yeah, but
though.
we don't know how much.
No.
Right. Okay, but we don't, but if you think about it, it's still
Prohibited.
7 homes,
No, I hear you.
$40,000. And that doesn't count putting in the new burner and then, all the rest that goes along with
On the
that.
customer
Well,
side.
absolutely, that could be more, depending
Right, so
what
I
they
mean,
have
you're
to do.
talking,
Yeah, could be another $5,000 to
$6,000,
$10,000.
another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Actually,
Yeah.
one of my colleagues just tying it up in Methuen, it's costing him $8,000 to put a new burner in a line. So $8,000 plus the 6, $14,000 just to tie in if you live on Charles Street.
That's a long payback period.
That's a long payback
I'm
period,
not
for which
disagreeing with you.
$6,000
That's why
of it
some
is
of-
to bring a line in from you so you can provide me with the service so I can buy the gas off of you, and you're the only guy in town that's delivering it. So it's,
Mr. Fode?
One of the things you'd said several times was cost of construction is ridiculous right now. And I've bid out infrastructure projects, water mains and all that, I've seen actually numbers, maybe in the last year going up slightly, but in the last, 8 years, numbers, we're coming in at 75-80% of what our engineers' estimates are, so I will debate you on costs are going up. Either that, or you need to have someone rewrite your specifications, you go out to look for pricing, because they're not going up substantially.
Don't want to beat you up because you came in here, but I think the message you need to send back to your people at National Grid, your policy doesn't work. Doesn't work for our community, doesn't work for our residents that want to tie in, that are looking to tie in. And we would encourage and urge National Grid to, at their first opportunity, to change their policy and get before DPU to do so.
Understood.
And if we can assist you either through testifying on behalf of the efforts of the utility to provide some sort of assistance in greater communities such as us in relief, I'd be happy to volunteer myself. And if you require some sort of assistance with legislation, we'll be happy to have it filed as far as a home rule petition, and we may anyway.
It wouldn't hurt if you did any of that stuff. I
No,
tell
I-
everybody,
But
let
I'd
all
like to
your, let
do
all
it in
your
concert.
people know, and the more people that get into it and complain about it, hopefully it'll change.
But I'd like to do it in concert with you people,
Yeah.
rather than in opposition to.
No, same
And
here,
again,
that's what
people
we
that have a
prefer.
monopoly, industries such as yourselves, I think you're easy. We love to hate you. It's easy. You're an easy target. You got a big bullseye on you.
The more you talk about it, believe me, push it, do whatever you can, promote it, complain about it. More stuff will happen that way.
And I do have some follow-ups to get you the tariff information that we have related to the cost structure that's currently in place. So I'd be happy to follow up with whoever you deem
Or to
okay.
the town administrator.
Certainly, I'd be happy to.
And I will tell you, if anyone else has any further interest or inquiring about stuff, give them my name and number. They can beat me up, that's fine, that's what I do all day. This is nothing new, so I do this all across the state. I go out and measure stuff and come up with the costs and run my program. And
Allison, you have their name?
I can give you, I'll give you a couple of cards.
Couple of cards, great.
I'll leave a couple of cards, and by all means, if anyone has any inquiries about any main extensions, any neighborhoods, I come out and meet them, I'll give them a call, talk to them, give them my email address, I have no problem.
We'll just scroll it across cable TV.
Do it. This is all I do all day long, so believe me, I hope it changes, because I'd like to see a lot more done. I would think maybe someday will, but, I don't think anyone expected oil to stay this expensive this long either, so it's really drawn up a tremendous amount of interest in the natural gas industry. I've been doing this for 39 years, so it's been crazy. Good, but crazy.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Uh, 7:30 is just, that's tomorrow.
Do we want to turn on the AC, or do we want to split ourselves up?
Let's get the AC.
Turn the AC on. Yeah. You turn the AC on?
I'll turn it.
God.
I would encourage us
It's
to.
like a sauna. If we keep it hot, maybe we'll move quickly.
That's okay.
You got a 7:30 public hearing.
That's right.
The 7:30 public hearing. I was trying to slide something else in. I thought we had a half hour. No, I think we need that for the, I think we need it for item 10. You're all right. We won't blind you out at this point. You can move your seat. Come, Mr. Prisco. No, no.
Actually, the public hearing's at 8, considered as,
The 7:30, isn't that a continuation of one? No?
yeah, it is.
right, great. There's one at 8. 7:31 is the continuation of it. It's 7:30. We'll move to item 7. It's a continuation of a public hearing that began on April 22nd. To consider the sale of town-owned land, map 43, parcel 31, 17,000 square feet, 44 Oakdale Road, as well as map 43, parcel 32, 3,000 square feet, 46 Oakdale Road. We have folks in the audience who are neighbors, and also a gentleman who's developing a new parcel up there that are here, that have interest in these particular parcels. We received additional information from some of the town departments. Of particular note to me was information from our health department that due to our health codes, these parcels could not be used for septic that went across the roadway, according to my review of what was submitted to us. I don't know if board members had seen the same.
Yes.
So that was within the CPC's response, and they provided some information regarding the health department codes within the town of North Reading. So. Mr. Valiakonis, am I correct in reviewing the information provided by the town departments that these parcels could not be used to service a septic system that went to a parcel that was across the roadway based upon our health code?
That's the detail that's been provided to us board members.
Thank you. So, board members, anyone wish to weigh in?
No, but maybe the petitioner, I don't know if Mr. Ferris is aware of the that the regulation to the existing regulations, on-site sewage treatment and disposal system regulation, what's been provided to us, and I recognize, why you applied for the purchase of the land so you could put the septic across the street. What we've been informed is that under system location, it states that no component or pipe of a new construction on-site sewage treatment plant and disposal system may be located within a public or private right-of-way, whether or not constructed. No component or pipe of a new construction on-site sewage treatment and disposal system may be located within or pass through a parcel of land that is not contiguous with the parcel on which the building that the system serves is located. And so it would appear, based on this, that what you were attempting to do may not be able to be accomplished with your request to purchase the land.
Because, just recently I granted an easement for the, when I built that road. So I still own half the road. So if I buy the other town-owned land, I would put my septic on that side of the road.
But it's still a right-of-way. It says whether it be public or private. Mr. Senior representing you here tonight?
Yes, I am. Just to clarify a little bit, with a private way such as this, it's not a public way. Each of the owners abutting the roadway owns the fee in the roadway to the center. Mr. Ferris already owns to the center of the roadway. In fact, I think he owns a little bit beyond the center because recently he gave a little more easement for the roadway to widen the roadway and perform the construction. But on the original right-of-way, he owned to the center of the road. This parcel being directly across the street, if he purchased that, he would own to the center of the road there. What essentially you would have is, you'd have a parcel of land with a right-of-way crossing it. So it would be a contiguous parcel, is what I'm saying. And by the way, on a right-of-way, you do have a right to place utilities in the street, and as long as you're not interfering with others' rights to pass and repass.
Mr. Valiakonis, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, sir. You have the recommendation of the CPC.
Mr.
Board
Chairman.
members?
Yeah,
Mr. O'Leary?
I don't necessarily see, and again, policy of the board is to try and get as much of the town-owned land back on the tax rolls as possible, but I don't particularly see in this particular instance, at this particular time, public interest being well served by putting it up for sale at this particular time. Again, knowing the area and coming from the area, being familiar with it, there are other existing dwellings and homes there that may very well have a more substantial need and use for the property for their own public health standpoint and septic systems should they fail. And again, we can put it up for sale and, see what the bids come in at, but I'll state it unequivocally right now, it would not be my intention to sit here and necessarily sell it to a bidder who's looking to proposing to build a larger home than what the current existing lot that they have, and that they're allowed to build on it, would allow in relation to the septic system that would be approved for it. I'm not looking to have a 4-bedroom home as opposed to a 2-bedroom or a 5-bedroom, or whatever it's going to be, just because they have more land now across the street to put in a wastewater treatment plant, septic system. When the property that's directly adjacent to it may have a need based upon their current lot size and may have a need for it also. So, if it goes up to bid, if the board decides to go out to bid, and the two parties bid on it, to me, it's more in the public interest and the interest of the existing home to sell it, offer it for sale to that particular person before someone is looking to build new construction and just get a larger home out of it, just because they can. I'm not so sure I want to get tied up in all that right now. I'm more inclined to just continue to sit on it and think about it a little bit more. But if the majority of the board decides to move forward, I'm just putting my thoughts out there as to what my intention would be if another abutter, direct abutter, were to bid on the land. I would think the public interest, the public health interest, would be better served by selling it to someone else, because there's an existing home there now.
Mr. Fode?
Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. O'Leary makes a good point. I think the bigger concern are the existing properties that are there now, the existing houses that are there now, and if one of them should have a failure and should need that parcel of land, then I think it's more important to them than to a new home. So I may be inclined to agree with Mr. O'Leary that maybe we should sit on this for now and hold off until we see if there's a better use for it.
Mr. Chair, you can weigh in.
If you put this up to bid, then any of the property owners, current property owners, certainly could participate in the bid. There's
That's
no
correct.
restriction, and the highest bidder would win the property.
The
Not
highest bidder-
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, would you explain that then?
Again,
It
it's
could-
whatever the board deems to be in the best interest of the community at that particular point in time. We do not necessarily have to take the highest bid.
Right, it can be, the specification can be written where it doesn't say we take the highest bidder, we take the best proposal or the most advantageous to the town.
Okay, so that's the clarification I wanted
Right.
to get.
Personally, I'm of the mindset of Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Fode. I think this is something we should sit on at this point in time. I think it'd be better usage would be for someone who has an existing home there that may have a failure on their septic system, as opposed to a new home being developed. where there's sufficient space for a septic system now, but it just wouldn't be suitable for a larger home that it looks like the development wants to build. So that's the position that I take as well.
Yeah, again, I don't think we should necessarily be in the, of the mindset to enhance someone's right to build, you know, with additional town-owned land, where it may very well be at the expense of other current existing homes in the neighborhood. And maybe even future on down the road, whoever ends up owning this other home may, at a future point in time, need it. But not to expand and enhance what would be allowable under the existing zoning and the lot size right now.
Do we have a motion in that regard, Mr. Fogel?
Yes.
Do we need a motion? You just opt not to put it up?
That's correct, you don't need a motion.
We don't have to take any action.
gonna-
The consent
No
decision-
action
I was
taken.
gonna change the motion to not so, but, at this time, but.
If the chairman wants to call for consensus as to whether or not it should be put up?
I think the consensus is based upon what I've heard, is not to put it up for sale at the present time. Mr. Valiakonis?
I would suggest, again, that there be a motion, because sometimes what happens is, was pointed out in one of the earlier sessions, is these issues will come up years later, and unless we have documentation that the board took action, then in fact, we will not have any evidence of the fact that the board considered this at tonight's meeting.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, I mean, we haven't closed the public hearing yet, and maybe the petitioner would like to react to
Sure.
some of our comments and try to
Mr. Senior?
persuade us otherwise.
Just a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to point out that the difficulty across the street, we could conform to Title V, the state regulations.
Right.
The only problem is the local regulation, which adds 25 feet to the setback from the wetlands. So it's, the town, although the state decided that 50 feet is adequate protection for a wetland, the town has decided that you need 75 feet. So it's a town regulation which caused this problem to begin with. Secondly, I would like...
Excuse me, Mr. C, that's not what was presented to us. What was presented to us at the initial public hearing by the petitioner was that he has a buildable lot for a two-bedroom home, meets all the requirements, ready to go. What he'd like to do is build a home supposedly for himself, 4-bedroom, and again, put the septic system across the street. Nothing was said to us in relation to 75 or 50 feet setback, local regulations. That's not what we were led
Okay,
to
well,
believe.
that's what cuts down the size, is the fact that you can't get closer than 75 feet. The second point I would like to make is it seems as though the board's feeling is that there might be competing interests between two people who might need a septic system. And I would point out that this land is plenty large for each person, if the town divided it before selling it, to get enough for a septic system.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this issue? Sir?
On the last meeting, Mr. O'Leary asked me that if it perked, and I said, yes, it did perk. And you mentioned to me, for how many bedrooms, and I said 2, because that's my initial design plan, was just 2-bedroom house. So it did perk, but my design plans was just for a 2-bedroom house, given the size of the footprint. So I just like to correct that issue that
No,
it
but
did perk.
you also said that you would be going, if you were to get this, you would go to a 4-bedroom home, and you
Well,
were
you-
looking
yeah,
to build
I
it for your family.
Yeah, but you said that,
That's what you said.
You said, well, you can probably potentially, build a 3 or 4 bedroom. You could, you can build, I believe you said that, but my intentions is for a 2-bedroom house.
Well, my
Mhm.
recollection is Mr. O'Leary's recollection.
You can build a 2,
You
you
can build
told
2
us.
now
You
on
told
your
us
lot.
that you can build a 2-bedroom home currently with your current lot.
Existing,
That's what you, and maybe I misunderstood
Yeah.
you, or maybe the rest of us
I could,
misunderstood you.
I could build a 2, 3, or 4 bedroom if I wanted to.
Right
but
now,
My design,
without this parcel.
I could build a home, but I would need the variance through the state for my 50-foot to 75-foot.
It sounds like you need it through the town.
Yeah, and you go to the state and they try to work something out with an alternative septic system for the town. So trying to eliminate the time frame and all that expense.
Okay,
I just figured, just for hassle, that's all.
okay.
Thank you.
If there's any other
Close the public
comment, if not,
hearing.
then you close the
Anyone else
public
have public comment?
Close the public hearing. No, she's done. Close the public hearing.
Anything else, Mr. Senior, before I close the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Fode, we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to not sell town-owned land designated as map 43, parcel 31, located at 44 Oakdale Road.
Do you have a parcel there too? Or is it a separate
What's the
motion?
other one?
Oh, yeah, they're two separate, they're two
Okay.
separate.
What are you saying?
I have a motion on map 43, parcel 31. Is that what that one is?
Correct.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further discussion, board members? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion?
All right.
Aye.
4-0, one absent.
Mr. Chairman, I move not to sell town-owned land designated as map 43, parcel 32, located at 46 Oakdale Road.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Unanimous. 4-0, one absent. Thank you. Next public hearing is at 8 o'clock, so I'd like to move to, Ms. Ballycones, do you expect anyone from Candlewood Lanes, or is anyone?
We do
from
not. The renewal information was submitted to the board, and I just wanted to point out that the renewal date is May 1st, and so we would ask the board's consideration to reapprove the bowling alley license issued to Candlewood Lanes.
Is there a reason why their license date seems to be off cycle?
It's governed by statute, so there are some licenses that are
Really?
governed by statute, and it's off cycle.
Oh, okay. Very good. Mr. Fode?
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the bowling alley license for Rock Entertainment, Inc., DBA Candlewood Lanes, 35 Main Street, to expire May 1st, 2014, subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second?
Motion, I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, one absent. Motion carries. Go to item 11, reappointments, Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
Finance.
Yeah, I was looking at the hour, though. I didn't know, can we get that done?
3%?
Can we get that done?
We can do the 3%.
Okay, absolutely. More than happy to accommodate our finance director. Going to item 10, 3% year-end budget transfers. And our finance committee members who are here too.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So what you have in front of you is a 3% transfer, and the reason for the 3% transfer is, again, due to the Verizon ATB case and the accrued interest from 2009 to when we paid it in November. The Department of Revenue requires that you pay the interest accrued on a ATB case from an interest appropriation, and our only interest appropriation would be short-term interest for debt service. So this was an unbudgeted item.
Okay. Any questions, board members? We have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a 3% budget transfer from employee benefits, workers' comp to short-term debt service, interest and admin fee for fiscal year 2013 in the amount of $32,598.88.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a question for Greg. This is the Verizon, and do we anticipate, are we clear once we've got this?
Going forward, yes. Going backwards, no.
No.
There are still other appeal cases that are pending going backwards, but certainly going forward, the law has been corrected that this is considered to be taxable property.
We have exposure for 2 years, is that correct?
2010 and 2011. So those are still active cases that, you know, there's been talk that they'll drop 11, but 10 would still be a liability to us. So,
But going forward,
going forward, we do
they owe
not-
us the money now, going forward? Or they don't owe us any
No,
money?
they don't owe us the
They
money.
don't owe us any.
Correct. We were taxing them, and
Right.
that's why they were due an abatement.
Along with a lot of other communities.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, no, we weren't the
I think
only
it's
one-
important
no.
to point out
Yeah,
that
right.
we were not alone
Nope.
in this. We were-
Especially this year, many communities are in the same position that we were. They didn't have enough in their overlay reserves to even, you know, give the baseline abatement, so we're not the only one. But that's why DOR has these regulations on it and how you're supposed to do it, so,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
Did I have a motion in a second?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Motion carries.
Greg, who signs this, me or just as Board of Selectmen?
No, you can send it on behalf of the board.
And then they have to sign it? for-
Yes, the finance committee also has to act on this and approve it.
Put your title clerk. Official title.
You can have it if you want.
We can move to item 11, reappointments, Capital Improvement Planning Committee. Mr. Fode.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place a nomination of the following names for reappointment as members of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee for terms to run concurrent with their elected term. 1, Robert Messeri, 11 Susan Drive. He's the Board of Selectmen appointee through May 2016. And Abby Hulbert, 1 Green Meadow Drive, Finance Committee through June 2016.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Did you volunteer, by the way? We appreciate that, Abby. You're volunteering. Yeah, I say it.
This is a,
giving consideration to approving my appointment.
I've not heard yet, but I will inquire with the chair of the school committee.
So I take it that I'm doing
Your terms are staggered.
Concurrent with your...
It's not a two-member committee, if that's what you're...
Really? I actually thought it was a 4-member committee. No.
Moving right along.
I didn't realize it was staggered.
Mr. Keller, was that your question?
Me,
There you
yeah.
go.
My question was the schools.
More than happy to entertain any questions from you. Discuss liaison assignments. I was a little delinquent this weekend, so I didn't complete my proposed assignments for FY 2013. But my thought process, board members, is to make one change based upon the request of Selectman Prisco and Selectman Fode, to make Mr. Prisco the liaison to CPC, Mr. Fode will become the liaison to RMLD. Other than that, my thought process was to continue the liaison assignments that were in effect for FY 2000. We'll go into 2014. I mean, the ones that were in effect for FY 2013 will remain the same. I should have that complete by our next meeting. Mr. Messeri.
just as a reminder, it's essential that they get released and that Greg's office has a copy of it. Karen will be looking for that information.
I'll get it done ASAP.
I'm sorry, yeah.
You just
Karen,
reminded me.
Jackie will be, I'm sorry, Steve. Jackie will be actually looking for it, because she's the one that chases us around for appointments.
Oh, right, yeah.
Town Administrator's report, can we get that done in 7
Of
minutes?
course, gentlemen. Starting off on my report, the town's application under the local initiative program to designate one property as part of the Bradford Pond Estates subdivision as affordable housing was accepted. As you know, this was part of the approval on that particular development, and the value in that is accounts towards the town's affordable housing stock, and you have a copy of the letter that came back to us from Department of Housing and Community Development. Our mandate is to have 10% of our housing stock in the form of affordable housing, so this contributes toward that total. We provide an annual inventory back to DHCD, and this property will be included going forward.
Excuse me, just as a note, by the way.
Yes.
The target is 10%, so we just pick up 29.
Always a moving target.
Yeah, I know, but if you pick up 29 units, you should do 2.9 in order to maintain the ratio, but again, something better than nothing.
It is.
So we're 2/3 down already, where we need to be.
Before we count anything else.
Yeah.
A recent inspection was conducted on the number of vehicles at Route 28 Motors. This was the license transfer that the board approved not too long ago, and it was a result of some complaints about the number of vehicles on premises. As you recall, the board approved 16 vehicles at that location. As of June 16th, the building commissioner did go out and ascertain that the number of vehicles were in compliance with the established license limit for a Class 2 motor vehicle license, but going forward, we would appreciate the cooperation of the licensee to stay within the limit that was established by the board and avoid coming back before you to explain why he has too many vehicles that are there.
Right, and I believe, at least when I had counted, he was probably 12 to 14 over what the license carried for, so it wasn't 1 or 2. Mr. Fode?
As you all know, I wanted to give this gentleman an opportunity to not, he shouldn't be guilty of the previous owner. Unfortunately, I kept a tally over the last 3 weeks of vehicles, and he had no less than 29 vehicles on 6 separate occasions. So, and I know, based on an email I sent to you, Greg, that Jim Nicola went out, and maybe that's, I don't know, if Jim had a talk with him, that's what prompted him to take some vehicles off there, but it's a problem, and it's kind of a situation where I got a kind of 2 emails, like I told you so emails from residents who weren't happy that I voted in favor to give him his license, but people aren't happy, and you go in there, there's no walking space in there, because every single piece of land is occupied by a vehicle, so I appreciate you sending Jim out there, and I appreciate Jim's effort, and hopefully, we'll just stay on top of that and make sure it doesn't get overcrowded again. Thank you.
You're welcome. On another Class 2 license matter, the board had previously issued a Class 2 license to a business by the name of Automotive Assets. They're located at 348 Park Street, and as you recall, when they came in and met with the board, their intent was to not display any vehicle on premises, but this would be something that would be done via the internet. The licensee has defaulted on their rent payments to their landowner. One of the things that we required, and we typically require what we call these pocket licenses, is that they provide evidence of the fact that they actually have a business operating in North Reading. And we can no longer ascertain that they have a business operating in North Reading. We're unable to contact them. So what I would recommend is that there be a show cause hearing scheduled next month, and the licensee be invited in to explain what the nature of his business operation is. We don't like to have these licenses out there not being used, and this is certainly an instance where we can't ascertain the whereabouts of the owner.
Thank you.
We'll proceed with that. Just on another license matter, if I could skip to number 5, we're in receipt of an application for transfer of the package store all alcohol license for New England Beverage. There will be a hearing scheduled before the board at your meeting on July 1st. As you know, under the law, we have a certain number of days to act on a license transfer request from date of application. This complies with that. So we do want to proceed with due diligence in getting this done. And then the final notation that I had was under the fiscal year 2014 Chapter 90 program. You'll recall we went into town meeting with very high expectations based upon the governor's budget, and that would provide us with $747,376 in Chapter 90 monies. We since have understood that 50% increase in Chapter 90 funding has actually resulted in a 25% decrease from this year's levels. So the amount that the state has certified to us is considerably less. You see that it's $373,788. However, there are some caveats that there may be more money coming down the road, and I apologize. I printed off a document from the Mass Municipal Association website which says the governor signs Chapter 90 term bill, road work to begin. And again, the key point is we received half of what we thought, and then they rolled it back an additional 25%. So in round numbers, we'll be receiving about $120,000 less in fiscal year 2014 Chapter 90 monies than we would have received this year. And certainly that creates a situation that we might want to review that again going into October town meeting, depending upon what amounts the governor releases going forward. That's it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bellatonis. That leads us right into our 8 o'clock public hearing. Yeber Group LLC, DBA Teresa's Prime Grill 19, pledge of license and alteration of premises. Mr. Fode, do we have Public notice?
Yes, notice of public hearing, Board of Selectmen, in accordance with Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in Room 14, Town Hall, 235 North Street, on Monday, June 17, 2013, at 8 p.m. on the application of Yeba Group LLC DBA Teresa's Prime Grill 19 for a pledge of license and alteration of premises to be exercised at 20 Elm Street, North Reading, Massachusetts, consisting of a ballroom, grill room, and restaurant, together with the adjacent covered pavilion and patio areas, with the total occupancy of 360 persons and seating for 202 persons, totaling approximately 28,392 square feet, as well as the adjacent enclosed pool area with occupancy for 50 persons and seating for 40 persons, totaling approximately 20,475 square feet.
Mr. Fode? Public hearing's open. I believe Mr. Yever, along with his counsel, Mr. Ford, is here.
Yes, good evening.
Pardon me, could people please use the speakers if you could?
Yeah, okay.
Speakers are only for
These
the
aren't
TV.
speakers. They're
They're
not-
only for the TV, not for the room.
We'll try to speak up. They're not speakers.
Will you have them speak here so we can hear?
Sure, they're going to come to the podium.
Direct comment
Thank you.
over there. First off, Mr. Chair, would you like the
Give
abutter?
those to the town administrator, please.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Keisha.
Good evening, members. Before the Board of Selectmen tonight is a petition to amend the specific description of the liquor license to include the, like, as you said, the outdoor pavilion area, the area next to the Grill 19, and the pool area. And also to pledge the liquor license to North Shore Bank, who's providing financing for the second round of development of the property that's been undertaken since we've acquired it. I'd like to point out to the board what we think is a very important thing. We're not adding any capacity to the building. The same patrons that would use the function facility today, as the license stands, would simply go out to use the pavilion for a cocktail reception or something like that. So there is no additional capacity being added to the pavilion or to the grill room. And we're also seeking to have the license specifically amended to include the service of beverages at the pool area, which is enclosed, not open to the general public. It is completely surrounded by a fence. It isn't accessible except going through a gated area for members and guests. So it is in control at all times, which I know is something that I'm sure the board is concerned about. So, if the board has any specific questions concerning the proposal, how we operate, Mr. Yever is here to answer anything concerning the procedures to be used in any one of the areas seeking to be licensed.
Board members. Mr. Messeri?
Historically, going back, was liquor dispensed at the pool area in the past? When I was a member years and years and years ago, I don't recall.
I believe it was, but I know Mr. Yeba has a little more information.
Functions, they did, if I may go back a couple of steps, the pavilion.
Would you mind?
Yeah.
Just so people listening at home can hear.
The pavilion was always used for functions outdoor, more golf outings than anything else. There were occasions that they've used the pool area several times during the summertime for different occasions that went out there as well. All we're doing is kind of shifting things around a little bit from one part of the restaurant to the other. We've done the pool areas. I don't know if you've been by and seen what we've done to the pool areas, but we've done that completely over. And we're getting requests from a lot of the local people as well for doing ceremonies at the pool area because it looks that nice. And that requires maybe a toast or something that happens there requires liquor. We don't want to do anything that we don't talk about and we don't notify the board about. You understand? And ask their permission.
You really want to sell liquor out of the pool. It's not
Well,
just about your toast.
Oh, yeah, but no, but that's
Right,
also
right.
true. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna do both of them if we're permitted to do that there. I would be foolish to say not. Our members would like a cold beer if they
Sure,
had the choice
sure.
to have
Well, I
one.
just want to be clear.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not-
I
just
know.
not for a
But
toast.
some of the stuff that they did use there before us, I mean, I can't tell you exactly what they did, but only from what the stories I've heard. They've had parties back there, they've had functions back there. We're not looking to get into that, I mean, that just doesn't work for us. But occasionally, a member would like to have a cold beer or a glass of wine maybe. And that's what we're looking for there. As far as the pavilion goes, they did use that there for members. You could probably attest to that, sir, that they did do most of their outings went underneath the pavilion. And that was factual.
Anyone else?
Just in relation to, how is the membership working there now in relation to the pool membership?
Pool membership is really, well, how it, relationship to what it was before?
What it was, what is it now? Yeah.
Okay. Before, it was a total membership. You would buy from the Thompson, you'd buy their membership, but, for the golf, and you'd have to buy a social membership, or you could buy a golf membership that included a social membership. Today, you buy your golf membership from the Thompson Golf Club, and you buy your pool and tennis membership from Resorts North, which was one of our operating companies. It's totally separate, and it has been going fairly well. We've got a lot of response from it. A lot of North Reading.
I've heard good things over some
Thank
people
you.
I know that become members. I've heard
Yeah,
good
what was different that we did this year, we added a lot of people. We added pros in the swimming. We brought professionals in to make sure nothing would happen, and that's all factual. Alex Hunter,
I hope everything you're saying is factual.
We've been going for 41 days without a day off, so if I say something, I apologize, but everything, we try to do it up front. We brought a lot, they used to have one person, actually, they used to run that, but we have 5 now. So we're watching all the corners and all the ends. We've restructured the entire pool area. We've done everything over. New fences, new lighting, we did everything. We put a kitchen back there. We got that all permitted by the town. Small kitchen, and it worked well this weekend with the kids, hamburgers and hot dogs, that type of thing. So it's working out extremely well.
Service bar, full service bar, proposing out there?
We'd like it if we could get it.
What
I mean,
is
we
it
would-
that you,
we
is
would-
there anything constructed as of yet for the bar area, or for a bar area?
It's an area, if I may, there's an area that we have one building there that we did over. It's completely secure. Let me go back a step. We put a kitchen into that building with sanctioned by the town. We got all our permits, fire department, and everything else. If we were to put liquor in there now, today, let's say, and then we're not going to do it because we're not quite ready yet, if we were permitted, we would not leave the liquor on the premises overnight. That would be taken back to the main building. In this case, if that main building wasn't done, we'd take it back to Middleton. We would not leave liquor in the building at night. That we would not do that in any circumstances. Did I answer your question? I'm not quite sure
Are
I
you
did.
proposing just a service bar, or bar stools?
Oh, no, service bar only. Service,
That's
I'm sorry, service bar only. It's service bar, there's no stools, there's no stools at a bar that you sit at, there's none whatsoever, no. Strictly service. Sir?
So I guess I had raised the question about the pool area. So you have these families that have bought memberships, and they got their kids out in the pool area. Are you going to be serving alcohol at that time, or is the alcohol at the pool just for special functions? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm going to go back to what our chairman has said. We'll probably, the families that are coming in with the kids are the ones that are asking for the beer and wine. The answer would be, yes, we'd be serving liquor, as we would in our restaurant. Same difference. No, not around. There's a kiddie pool section that's fenced off. We wouldn't have anything into that, obviously, into that area.
Kiddie pool area isn't included as part of our description.
Yeah, no, that's, we put a playground in there that wasn't there, we extended the fences. The kiddie pool was done over. We put fences to lock the kiddie pool away from the rest of the area. The mothers love it, and some of the fathers do too. But we completely cordoned that off, so there's no interaction there.
Mr. Fode?
Just to go back to what you said before about putting a kitchen on that was in the previous concession stand building that was there?
Yes.
And then, so.
We remodeled it, yeah.
So you remodeled that, put a kitchen in there, your proposal would be to serve liquor from that same building?
Just as a service bar, that would be it. We would keep just a very little, you keep on a service bar, especially something out there. I think the majority of the things that would be sold there is probably wine and beer, if it was sold at all.
Mr. Valiakonis?
Mr. Yeva, thank you. I want to just say that the town departments appreciate. They say you've been a very professional person, and the town departments appreciate the opportunity to do business with you.
Thank
So
you. Thank you
for
very
that.
much.
My question would be in terms of the pool staffing, do you have full-time trained lifeguard personnel? If you're going to be serving alcohol, do they have any special awareness toward persons or patrons who may become intoxicated?
Yes, they would, and also the people that would be serving the alcohol would be tip certified. We wouldn't let the lifeguards serve alcohol, but we would make the lifeguards aware of the fact that if we saw anything that didn't look right, but again, tip certification. We don't believe that we're going to sell a whole lot of liquor there. It's more convenience for the customers not to walk around the pool into leave their kids or leave whatever they're doing into the Grill 23, which is only about 50 or 60 feet away. So it's more or less a convenience of what we're asking for. Basically, there's nothing else, really.
As an aside, when do you expect to be fully operational?
That's the $1 million question.
Right now.
We're working 7 days. If you've been by there, we're working 7 days a week. In fact, you have our electrical departments out there now changing service on us.
You were going to tell me 8, but that wouldn't be factored.
We're hoping to have that open by the first, second week of July. We have a wedding coming in that we inherited from their previous owners. And the bride was the other day, and boy, oh boy, we're chasing her around. She's still running crazy, but we will have that open for her wedding July 17th. We'll have it pretty much done again. We may not have the steakhouse open, but the functions, we're building 3 new kitchens into that facility, and that's what's taking us an awful long time. And it's like peeling an onion, that building. When you peel one, you get another one right behind it, you know.
I will say I'm impressed at what it looks like from the outside right now. I think you've done a great job. And I haven't seen the pool area yet, but as far as the facade, it looks very, very nice.
Thank you. If you go by the pool area, you'll see that it's been completely landscaped. Colmac Brothers did the entire pool area, but they put lights everywhere, and it really makes the whole area look nice.
Not too bright though, right?
Oh, no, they're up lights and plant lightings.
What are the hours of the pool?
The pool ends at 8 o'clock, and, unless the
7 days
weather's...
a week?
7 days a week, yeah. 10 to, well, we haven't started that program quite yet. We're going to do it after the kids get out of school around the 23rd. And it'll go from 10 in the morning, weather permitting, till about 8 o'clock at night. You can't stay out there much longer than 8 o'clock. They're terrible. It really is, but, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's why we're not, we're not talking about doing parties and stuff like that out in the pool. You can't use any of that outside area really after it gets really dark. It's just a convenience for them, you know what I'm saying? And it's something that if you walked in there any given day, this weekend I was turning hamburgers myself. That's how I spent Father's Day. Me and my wife were in there, and it was a blast because we did hot dogs, hamburgers, and everybody asked, when are we getting? He says, it's up to the town fathers to give us permission to do that. I can't. Well, what's the difference? Well, there is a big difference. We need to ask permission, and that's the reason why. It's more of a convenience situation than anything else.
Is driving range, is that still going to function?
It's still there. We're not operating it, and let me explain what we did there. When we purchased the property, what we did with the Thompson Country Club, they have no driving range. So they asked if they could use it for a year, possibly 2, and we said yes. And what they're doing is maintaining the grass in the back, cutting the grass and keeping that even, but we're not using the driving range. And I understand there's some problems with that there that we'd have to look into if we ever wanted to do something with it, One of the things we don't want to do is upset neighbors. We don't want to create any problems. We're trying to make it look real pretty. And we're trying to act as good neighbors as far as the operation of the place, to keep everything in place. As you can see, we're not cutting any corners. As I said to you when I was here last year, the picture looks just like the building looks just like the picture. And well, they're not lit yet.
Except for the tower.
And the signs are not up yet. It's another problem.
Working on that.
We're working on the signs, but we're trying to make everybody happy with that as well. But we've tried to make it look nice. We're cleaning everything up. We're bringing a nice look to the community. We're hiring a lot of community people. I know that doesn't mean everything, but we're going into the
That's good. It
community.
does.
We're going into the community first. We've hired just about all our lifeguards, which number about 27 or 28. You know, they're on in intervals.
Right.
No one wants to work 40 hours, the kids, they want to come in, come out. But they're almost all North Reading people. So we're trying to keep everything in-house. Now, when we do our job fair, we'll look within the community first to see what we can do to get people to work there as well.
Now, as far as the parking area itself, making any other improvements, on-site improvements as far as the parking area itself?
We haven't done too much with the parking area because it didn't need it, you understand? But the actual parking, except for the reconfiguration of the entrance to the restaurant, the loop, the circle, we're moving that around a little bit to give it a little bit more room so we don't get bottlenecked up there and have a problem or an accident or anything. What they're doing is narrowing the circle a little bit to make the driveway larger so people can get in and get out of there quick. So we don't, but other than that, there was nothing else to really do.
Okay. I have been contacted by, Director Butter, Nancy's in relation to,
Sure.
the buffering a little bit, and I guess you cut a little bit down there, I noticed, but not a significant amount. Any plans for enhancing any buffering?
I'm sorry?
Any plans to enhance the buffering for the
You
Director Butter?
you can't, it's all growth there. There's a buffer, natural buffer there. You cannot see the house through the buffering, through the trees. It's a natural buffer if you know the area, if you've seen it, you can't see through it.
I was there
Yeah.
over the weekend.
Yeah, you can see that the trees are pretty heavy there and pretty thick.
So cut something down, some of it, but
Well, there was,
something hanging over.
no. What we cut down was the trees that were hanging into the parking lot on the driveway. And those are that was our property too, so we just very lightly. We also cleaned up the front of the property, and we're doing new landscaping in there as well, because the trees were mostly broken from the storms that we had. And Colmac says they're not savable. You're wasting your time with them, so they pulled those out. And then we're going to do something a little bit lower and prettier, as we did to the side and the front of the building. So it looks like we're in 2013 and not in 1955. So that's why those came down. But as far as this gentleman here, these folks here, we had them look at that there. That is really thick there, that buffer area. There is some conservation in there as well in the back, from what I was made to understand. So that all stays the way it is, you know what I'm saying?
This time of year, it's thick, but of course, come fall and winter time, it's pretty opened up. And we're talking, and again, we're hoping we're extremely successful. That being the case, there's going to be a significant amount more of traffic in and out of the parking
Right.
lot in the area, and
We
the
can-
impact on a Director Butter like the Woodmanseys
Sure.
could be significant. So again, I don't know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to last Planning Commission hearing on the signage or all the rest, but this time of year, plenty of growth. The rest of the year, half the year, not so much.
It's thin, but they have, and one of the things they...
Not so much whereby, maybe some evergreen or abrevieties or something like that would be a year-round enhancement.
Yeah. Well, there is an awful lot, and I'm not a tree expert, I don't know a whole lot of, I come from the city. Yeah, I don't know where everything is. I call Aphrodite the wrong people. What do you think? Anyway, there is a lot of greenery in there that stays the same, evergreens that stay there a lot, you understand? But if you look at it, you'll see it.
I was there over the weekend.
Yeah, you'll see, it's kind of thick. But if we found that we were bothering him with problems there, if it was necessary, we would do something to blind it. That's up in the far corner of the lot anyways, it's in the farthest distance of the property. But we would obviously revisit that if that was a problem.
Steve, help me out, where's their property in relation to?
Just westerly, right next door.
Westerly, just
Just-
right there. Oh, okay.
Westerly.
Is-
West of the
Red
parking
Hall,
lot.
right
From
over there.
from the actual facilities, he's probably
right.
about 500 feet
Okay.
from the facility. But from the parking lot, he's probably 100 feet, maybe not even.
Okay.
So that's where he is there, if that's correct. That would be a good guesstimate, I think. And we would obviously, if lights or something was bothering our neighbors, we wouldn't hesitate to do something to correct it.
Anything else?
I don't know if anybody else
Open it
has
up.
any
I know,
other comment.
Anyone from the audience like to speak?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Clemency. Appreciate it.
My name is Gerald Woodmansey, 34 Elm Street, North Reading. And I was there when the Thompson Club, well, before the Thompson Club came in, any years, or quite a few years anyway. They had been over in the hat before. One of the things that concerns me right off straight is talking about liquor in the swimming area. To my knowledge, we had children that were over there, and we were members for probably 18 years. And there wasn't any liquor that was served in the swimming area. If it was sneaked in or something like that, but it was not served. It was not supposed to be there. The main area where it was served was in the bar and in the function area. And there also was problems there. They had problem with that. They had one accident that I know of that was reported. The two fellas left there, and they hadn't gone very far, and they hit a tree. One of the fellas died. This was from the Thompson Club, from liquor. I'm very much against liquor at a pool, even anywhere around. You have so many problems you read every day about kids in pools, like the one up in Andover not too many years ago where I think there was 5 kids got in and 2 of them died. They closed that up there. It was up near the school in Andover. It's just a bad situation to have anything so that a parent may not pay attention for a couple of seconds or 30 seconds, and they've had that in swimming pools recently and at other places. So I don't think that you can have enough attention given to taking care of children when you are at a swimming pool. My wife dived in over the swimming pool one day to save a kid that was in there. The mother was just there or whatever, but it was an accident, something. The kid just lost control, which happens, and my wife dived in and pulled the kid out. So I am very much against liquor around a swimming area. They're very dangerous to start with. And if you have parents that have even had liquor and over there, you're still not up to your proper functions watching kids, and you read every day about problems of children getting hurt. So I'm very much against that. A lot of things go by the wayside, you don't remember them. And I guess probably because I was there before and I'm one of the oldest ones around now. The club started in and was over in the hat, and it moved over there. And there was a lot of things that were agreed to, whatever. Simple one was the pine trees across the street. Parking lot over there was noisy and everything. So we said, hey, put in some trees. So they put in pine trees, which now have grown all up. They're way up high, you can see, and it doesn't block the noise. So I talked to a couple of people over there, and last fall they got some pine trees and I got some evergreens, so we planted them out front just to make it easy for a barrier, you know, to break the noise. So I'm trying to get along with the neighbors, but this here are a lot of common questions I think that should be answered. I looked at this and this so that we get it down in writing. There's so many things that are said and they get forgotten. I think you got a better record system now than was done way back then. But I would like to see all these questions that I have here answered and have them in writing so that be for a future remembrance so that we'll know what's going on. There was a lot of things at the Thompson Club that things went by like that, and I said, I don't remember any liquor being sold. Maybe it was sold in later years or something like that, but the original intent was not that to my knowledge. So I have these different ones. I don't want to go over them all. I won't take the time, but I have copies here for other people if they want them, and I have them for you. And I think I'd like to get the answers back in writing so we can have a record of it so we will know what's going on. I gave a copy to Mr. Yarber and asked him if he could do that. He's doing a good job over there. I don't think we're going to have a problem, but it's just to get these simple questions answered. We've had them at the other meetings and stuff, and so that we know what's going on, just so it's clear. I mean, I think he's doing a good job, and that's it. One of my last things on there is a buffer zone down by the river. Down in Middleton, Middleton has gone along with most of their contractors building along the Ipswich River, and they are asking them to put a 100-foot buffer or something like that along the edge so that they have a wildlife corridor. Now that area has grown up. There's a lot of ducks that go into the pond down there. You have a lot of deer that do come across the river there and come up into that area, and also down to BB Chemical on that side where they own. They took the houses down that used to be in there, so that's a more or less a wildlife area in that whole spot. So it would be nice if a buffer could be left along there to look ahead in the future. There isn't anything now. Maybe something would be done later, like along the Merrimack River. They put in walkways so people can walk along and enjoy it. So I'm just asking to look ahead, the next 20 years or 50 years or 100 years. We need the open areas that we have. When I first moved there, you could see from my house all the way to Lowell Street and Linfield, the houses up there. As you know now, the trees are way up there, and it was just blueberry bushes. I have 2 bushes that's still out there that are, well, they were there when I moved in 1958, and I've still saved them. They're all blueberry bushes. So it is a unique area down and back there, and I'd like to see some of it saved along the edge there, because that land abounds the other land in Linfield. So there's a good place for wildlife all across that area. And like I say, I have these questions here, and I think I would like to see these answered and get a copy of them and have a record put in so that we know what they are. And there's many other questions that people have asked at the other meetings that we've had, and I think we should put this all down and put it into some kind of a folder or something so that the public will know what's responsible, what people are responsible for, and what they're not. So I think that's it. Do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Valiakonis, most of this information which Manzi is looking for would be contained in building department in terms of occupancy?
Parking would be for
Parking would be in
planning commission.
planning commission. Hours of operation would be dictated by the license that the proprietor has.
Yeah, well, I have that there. The other main problem here is, you'll see that I'm very concerned about the parking. I'm asking what the parking is going to be out front. How many people do you normally have? Like if you got, 386 people or something like that they're talking about? It's on the program for tonight. How many cars do they have? How many occupants per person for a car? And how many parking lots do you have now? And how many are you going to need for that? And also for the swimming pool, which there's a lot of people going over there now. And you'll probably have more transients than what you have now at a later date. And also the golf club, golf drivers, I don't know how many positions out there, there's probably 20 or 30, which usually requires a car to go over there. So it may not look like a parking problem, but I think if you look at all my questions in there and you total it up, and I don't know what the state laws or town laws are for the number of occupants and how many parking spaces you have for it. I don't know whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. But these questions are all in there, and these are what I'd like to get an answer back to before everything is finalized so we know what's going on.
Mr. Yever, do you know the number of parking spots you have in that parking lot? And you just have the one parking lot, correct?
It is
One large parking
lot. You want to talk?
I was going to say, I believe we're in conformed.
Could you speak up, please?
I believe, in terms of the parking lot, the number of spaces, we conform with the town's regulations for the occupancy of the building and the use of the premises.
Do you know how many spots are out there, though?
It's over a couple hundred, but I couldn't be exact, but it's over a couple of hundred spaces. But if I may I address this gentleman, because he seems to be following me every place I go. If may I?
Why don't you can provide answers through me to him.
Most of the questions that he has on his list is stuff that we've already been through. It's already stuff that we've hashed over with the town. We're in complete conformity with everything we're doing because the town told us we were. And if we weren't, we made sure that we were. I hate to put it this way here, but it seems like we're going through the same drill all over again. We're here to ask for a couple of items. We're asked if we can serve liquor at the pool. The question that this gentleman has brought up is a good one. He says at the, people have a beer or two, they get a little foggy. We have 5 lifeguards. That's their job, to make sure kids don't get hurt. Not 1 lifeguard, not 2 lifeguards, not 3, not 4, but 5. In every direction that you see in that pool. So I could get away by state ordinances at 1 or 2. I have 5 to make sure nothing happens. Whether we serve liquor or whether we don't serve liquor there, that's how that's gonna stay. So we're up on top of that today. So that issue of having the beer, a parent doesn't save a kid usually. It's a lifeguard to see something going sour and they'll jump in. And with 5 being there, they should be able to do the job well. So that addresses that problem. But getting back to some of these questions, we've been here before, we've done this here, and I don't think it's fair or it's right to keep on going back to the same issues. Everything that we did, we are building department, we did by the book, by the letter. We coded the building by the book, by the letter. We made sure the parking and everything else in the interior was the met code. I understand his interest and his concern about traffic. This is a type of a business and this type of property where things come, they go, they come, they go. You're not gonna bundle this thing all up in one big, because it doesn't work that way. The functions come in, they go out, they're usually on a weekend more than anything else. The upstairs restaurant doesn't open till 4 o'clock. The other restaurant downstairs is kind of mandated to lunches and early suppers, so one's going out, one's coming in. We've identified that there. We had to, as a business person, not only to try to comply with the code, but as a business person, we had to make sure that this thing flowed the way it was supposed to. As far as safety, there is absolutely no question. We have an impeccable reputation as far as serving liquor. I own licenses in Boston, Middleton, and now North Reading. We have never, in our years, had a problem with over-serving or having a problem. That can be checked with ABCC, not one. And we do a lot of volume. We're very concerned about that. We're not money hungry to try to over-serve people so that we can turn around and get a liability problem. I'm sorry, I apologize. But it is somewhat frustrating. In every way we turn around, we have a new problem. We're trying to fix it up and make it look pretty. I gotta meet another board tomorrow over a sign that we had to spend money to have a sign put up to get our letter size, 500 feet from the curb. I understand, and I did it, but there has to be a line someplace that we'll abide by everything we're asked. But once we do that, we should be looked at. That's all I'm saying.
If these questions have all been answered, I think it would be very simple that the board or whatever, they can very easily get the answers to these, and if not, they should be able to ask the applicant for the answers so that we have this information. I counted a parking lots, there's probably a little less than 100 or 200 of somewhere in that area out in front. And if on the back area where you're going to have parking for the golf and probably tennis and most likely swimming, because you won't want to have the swimming people up and taking that corner because that's the closest to the restaurant and the 19 Grill. So that parking would probably...
I don't know what your plan is, if it's different than what was there previously, but having been a former member down there, that parking lot was open to wherever you were going to, whether you were going to the grill downstairs, or you're going to a function upstairs, or you're going to the swimming pool. You could park in that parking lot at any spot. It wasn't...
I agree, but now that he's having a grill, there's going to be more people there, probably more people than what there was before, and cars coming in. A lot of your golfers parked on the other side of the street and would come over there or back and forth, one way or the other. So all I'm asking for is let's have everything up front and have it down. I know we've gone over some of these before, but the questions are there. Let's get them all together, and any of the other stuff that we've had comments on or questions on, let's get very simple answers. They're very simple questions. Fill them in so we can have it and have it for a record. I don't think that's asking too much.
Mr. Fode.
Greg, that wouldn't be too difficult to provide
Not in terms of the issues of parking.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
hours,
I'm looking at some of the
operations.
stuff, and I haven't been involved in
Pretty,
it.
pretty straightforward
think-
questions that we can get through Mr. Yeba and document what they are. I think they're pretty straightforward.
I have a question for Mr. Yever, if I may. Mr. David, Thompson, when it ran the pool, used to have a swimming team. Is there, will
We
you,
have a new swimming team, yeah.
I'm sorry?
We have a new swimming.
You do have a swimming team?
We have a swimming
So you'll
team.
have competitions there also?
4 times a year, I think it is. It's only limited to 4 different meets and matches. It's for the kids. and
Right.
That's, everybody asks for it. And
That's what
we-
they did
we-
before.
Oh, yeah, no, I,
And we abide by it, you know. One of the questions, if I may, Mr. Chair, as far as that driving range, if you, and I can tell you this from experience, because I'm there all day long. If there's 6 cars to go down there, there's a lot. 6 cars.
well, that's why I should be hitting balls then.
Huh?
I should be hitting balls there then.
It never got that much use down there.
Never got any use out of that, yeah. That's what we told, just do what you want with it until we figure out something. But if there's 6, 8 on the maximum, that's a lot of cars in the course of the day. And there's some parking back there that's rough parking, if you're familiar with that. There's some asphalt back there that they park on. Thank you.
The other thing, you're talking about buffer area. Right now, there's a lot of, I can't think of the vine that grows up, but it's all across, grown all across the back on the trees. So a lot of your trees are going to be dying on the back. They've been
Bittersweet.
some bittersweet, that's it. It's gone crazy. And I drove out back to the parking lot there, and it's all growing up across there. So you have a lot, and a lot of these trees, if this isn't cut down or taken care of, these trees are going to be dead. There was also one tree out in the back, and there's other trees out back that are dying from bittersweet. And it's not just a problem here, it's all over the state. But the point being is, a lot of your trees out there, there won't be a buffer area. In 10 years or 20 years, these trees, this bittersweet will kill it all, like you see it alongside of the roads in different places. So the point being is, I guess to look forward, look ahead, like the Thompson Club we didn't at that point, is to plan that in the future, maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now, there should be a look to see if more buffer trees or bushes or something should be planted or something like that, because times change and things change. Like I said, when I moved there was nothing there, and now there is everything. don't even have sun hardly in the backyard. So this is something that should be put in so that they'll be taken care of in the future. I'm not trying to be tough to the man. I'm trying to bring out the questions that a lot of the neighbors have and people have had. There's been problems over the years, and I'm not trying to be tough or anything. I'm just trying to get everything down in writing so everybody knows what's going on. I didn't write that down in there, but the one about the river, I'm very, I think that's something that should be looked ahead.
Yeah,
But
I think
buffer around-
as far as the river, Jerry, any other future expansion and use of the property will have to go before the local town
Yeah,
boards
yeah.
anyway. And I think I'm quite confident that
Yeah.
the planning
I know
commission
they're
and
doing it. Most of
the
the boards, they are
conservation
very
commission will
I just
weigh in
wanted to
heavily.
mention it in passing so that we have a record on what's going on,
Is there a
that's
river
all.
back there?
Is there a
No.
river back there? Yeah.
I don't know, it's too far back.
There's a river back there.
So, anyway, if you could give me the answers to these questions, I'd like a copy of them at some time. And this is addressed to the board.
Your staff can assist in putting
We can.
answers together for Mr. Woodman.
We can.
That'd be terrific.
So if you could do that, I would appreciate it, and if you have anything else, that's it. Like I say, I'm happy to work. I think he's doing a wonderful job. I'm just concerned about the noise and how it may be 5 years. I may not be here in 5 or 10 years. I'm 81. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I feel healthy and I do a lot, but I don't know. But I hope I'm here, and I hope I can see you make a good go of it and everything, because it's come up along, and you're doing a wonderful job, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I didn't like the trees being cut down, but it looks beautiful and everything. And anyway, so that's it. So I wish you the best, and I just want to make everything clear for everybody so we know in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to comment, questions?
And I guess I'm the last.
Come on up.
Last. My name is Jeff Stoltz, 2 Gillis Drive, North Reading. And Mr. Yeva and I I appreciate your comment. I feel like he and I are practically glued together at the hip. We spent 5 hours last Tuesday evening. We're going to be here tonight, and we're going to be back together again tomorrow. So we've seen more of each other than we see of our wives. So
I'm not saying anything.
I know. And you notice I made no additional
I always get
comment on
myself
that.
in trouble, so I was told not to say a word. when
You were
someone mentions wives.
very prudent, and you noticed that I did not make many further comments as to the advantages and/or disadvantages of that. So I want to come back to the alcohol at the pool and at the pavilion in a moment. But first of all, I'm now expressing my ignorance. I'm asking for you folks to help me a little bit. I'm looking at the Pledge of Liquor License. And I'm looking at paragraph 2 in the liquor license pledge agreement. At least it's number 2. I don't know how to interpret that. And I just want to understand what happens if the following occurs. It says so you have the pledgor is as I understand it would be Mr. Yebba. The pledgee would be the bank, which is savings in, I'm not sure which is the
North Shore Bank.
North Shore Bank. Thank you. Yeah. So it says. So the pledgor hereby pledges to the pledgee the license. It then goes on to say that the pledgee is hereby fully authorized and empowered upon the occurrence of default in any of the obligations and with the approval of the Town of North Reading Licensing Board and Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission to sell, assign, and deliver the license at public or private sale at its auction or that of anyone acting on behalf of 3 days prior and so forth and so on. I just want to understand what happens. I'm certainly hopeful. I want to say for the record, I hope Mr. Yeb is entirely successful. But as a person who lives right across the street from it, I just want to understand what happens if he is not. What happens to that license? How is that controlled, and who does it go to? Because one of the things you're voting on tonight is to allow Mr. Yebba to pledge that license, and I want to understand how that license moves if Mr. Yebba is not successful. And I would appreciate a clarification on that if I may. I'd asked for one from the office, but I hadn't gotten a really good clarification, and so I'm here as my first thing to ask you that.
I'll take a stab at it.
Great, thank you
He
very much,
defaults
Mr.
the
Lane.
bank, the license defaults to the bank.
Okay, got that part.
The
Then what
bank-
happens?
The bank can then sell that license. Well, we need to approve it. Mr. O'Leary, correct me if I'm wrong, if I left anything out. Go ahead.
I happen to be a bank examiner. So anyway, so this is normal practice, that the bank would require as part of the collateral package, a pledge of the license. But the pledge of the license is only as good as what the local licensing authority is willing to allow them to do. But what it does is it allows, should he default, it allows the bank to come and petition the board to appoint a new manager, if they want to continue to run it, if it's a turnkey operation, continue to run it. Again, with the approval of the board, change of manager. It gives them care, custody, and control of the license based on his pledge, but nothing happens unless the board approves it. So they can come in here and petition to have a new manager put in, to continue the operation so the thing keeps paying, or suggest that they have a package deal, looking to have someone buy the operation from the bank, say we went into foreclosure, and suggest to the board that these are the people who would be reputable enough to come in, transfer the license to them. So it gives the bank legitimate standing in coming before the board as the operator of the license.
I appreciate that. My next question on that basis would be, if that should happen, and again, I certainly hope that it doesn't, now having been glued at the hip for so long, I can't even imagine Mr. Yebba not being next door to us. But if that should happen, would that decision come before an open board meting?
Yes, open a public session.
Open
And
public session.
Public hearing.
Okay, and that's something where
Posted
whereas the
public
butters,
hearing,
we
and
would be
butters would be
notified.
notified. Same,
Because again, to be honest, and I'm very sympathetic to what Gerald is saying, and I'm also sympathetic to you, but a lot of the things that have happened with regards to this have not occurred, like the only 2 notices I've received, one was for the first liquor license, and the second, I should say 3. The second was for this meeting to discuss the liquor license and how it's going to be applied to the property. The third was with regards to signage. But a lot of the other things that Mr. Yeb is referring to never came across, never came to and I'm not,
Right.
I'm
May not
just,
be
just-
And I think because he wasn't changing the use, so therefore, there wasn't any other requirements than what he went through.
I appreciate that.
So
All I'm
that's
saying is that Mr. Yebba obviously has a lot of understanding about all the things that are going on and feels that he has talked to various groups, but none of them have come before at least to my knowledge, before a public group, other than for the meetings that I have.
It's certainly been
I have
aired, it's certainly
attended.
been aired within the confines of town hall and the appropriate departments who are here to look out for your interests.
Again, from a
Right.
transparency viewpoint, and I'm not here to blame anybody for this, but there was certainly a sense in the first planning commission meeting that a lot of people felt that including members of the commission, felt that there hadn't necessarily been a lot of information available about what was going on for probably the very reasons that you just said. But on the other hand, as the abutters, it does create concerns when things are going on that are going to obviously have an impact on our property, and that we don't have a full understanding of. So I'm actually very appreciative of that list. I would certainly like to be a party when those answers are provided to be able to learn what the results of those are, because I'm again have a very much of a vested interest in that as well. And I appreciate the explanation and that on that basis, assuming it's a common practice to have the liquor license. May I just ask one last question on that, Short, just because is that we're now within a few weeks of opening. I'm a skosh confused.
I like how you put that, where?
Right, there you go.
You've been there so much, you
I know.
now have a piece of the place. You got a piece of the place.
If I could invest, I would, but I haven't been offered that opportunity.
For someone that hasn't been informed as much as you know more than all of us.
So, well, I'm just based off the things that you've said. So the one thing I'm also a little confused about is why at this late hour are we in a position where we need to have the discussion about the liquor license being pledged?
I think it was an oversight from the beginning.
If I may, our financing, Mr. Chair, has come in two phases. There was initial financing and the license was...
I don't think he's talking about the pledge of the license. I think he's
No, I was
talking.
talking about the pledge.
You're talking about the pledge?
Pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And our financing's come in two phases, to acquire the property and then to develop the property. We just recently closed the loan to pay for the rehabilitation of the property and all the work that you see going on there.
Okay.
So that's why it's coming at this date.
Okay, I was just curious, because it just, so my concern, quite frankly, was it was an indication of a financial difficulty as opposed to a practice that you were expecting.
That's a normal, if I may, that's a normal scenario. You're putting, the assets of the corporation have to be pledged to the bank. They have to, the liquor license is one of the main assets.
Okay.
You say the real estate. It's like having a mortgage on your house. You gotta pledge your house. And you sign personally for it. It's the same difference with this here. I'm sorry, I'm.
And that building honestly is probably worth not much without the liquor license for what it's designed for.
Okay, and I appreciate it. It just seemed like very late in the ballgame to be doing this. I would have thought that we would have been doing it.
No, you're right,
a
but
long
the
time
bank,
ago.
the bank wants to make sure that if, God forbid, anything happens to the business, that they have a liquor license attached to that building.
I understand. It makes.
Even though they still have to come back to us, he can't walk away with his liquor license.
And if he was able to raise that money elsewhere, and where it came from, they didn't care about the liquor license, then we wouldn't be here tonight.
And again, in other communities, liquor licenses are worth more than they may be here.
right.
We still have pouring licenses available here for North Reading. Where it's truly an asset where Mr. Yeber, who would be the owner of the license of record at this particular point, could actually sell the rights to that, and then subject to the licensing board's approval, say for tens of thousands of dollars. Or more.
Hundreds of thousands.
Depending upon where the location is.
Boston,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
So,
Good.
what that does, again, is protects the bank's interest. That's why he has to pledge it, which would prevent him from doing that without the approval of the bank and the local licensing authority.
I think you also need to bear in mind that Mr. Yeber has to come before us every year to renew that license.
I do appreciate that,
So,
and you made that point
yeah.
at the last meeting I was at with you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
so-
much. Good.
So anything, if, I don't know how the board's gonna react to the pool license, but that can be adjusted. If we see fit to approve it tonight, that could be changed.
In future.
Right.
Understood. So, may I ask one other question, and this would be directed to Mr. Yeba, if I may.
If he says so.
But I will direct it to you, and hopefully you will be kind enough to redirect it. Mr. Yeba spoke eloquently about his success in business in terms of alcohol, providing alcohol to his patrons in a controlled manner. One of the things, and I'm curious because I don't know the answer to this, I was curious in that a pool is a very different entity. I was curious in any of those other businesses if Mr. Yeba has experience dispensing at a pool.
Mr.
The
Yeba?
answer is yes. Embassy Suites alone there, but I own that hotel. And
Okay.
it also has a pool, and it also serves liquor at the pool. And it's easy, it's not as hard as you think. You're watching what's going over the counter, you're watching what's coming up, and in this particular case, you have lifeguards watching the people. If they see something that's not right, they notify the front and stop it right away. It's very controlled. Another thing is the place is completely secure, you couldn't get in there. They asked me for my card the other day, some new girls, it's a way to fit up, I'm paying you. So that's how tight it is to get into it.
So that, which is an excellent segue, thank you very much, to my next question, which I'm going to direct to you,
Sure.
Mr. Delaney, and hopefully you will be kind enough to redirect to Mr. Yeba. And that is, now of course I just lost the thought. So are the only people, I apologize, I need to frame this. Are the only people who we will, because you mentioned the control, card control, so the only people who actually have a I assume, a reservation at the hotel can get into the pool area and therefore can get the alcohol. My question is, are the only people who will be able to purchase alcohol at the pool members of Resorts North, if that's the name of the organization?
The answer would be yes, because those.
Members and guests.
Well, members and guests.
Well, I want to be,
Guest, you're right,
so
in the guest.
is a guest, so for clarity's sake, just for me, so I understand, so if I am a member of Resorts North and I bring somebody, okay, I'm responsible for them. And at some level, from an accountability viewpoint, I feel good about that because not only do I have the controls that you're putting in, Mr. Yeba is putting into place, we have the lifeguards, which do want to talk about for 2 seconds at the moment. But also, I would like to believe that, and I would be interested. So this would be another question for membership rules with Resorts North. Are the members accountable for their behavior, and does that? Could they lose their membership if their behavior, let's say, for instance, they become drunk, disorderly, and so forth? Can their membership be revoked as a part of the rules of Resorts North?
Mr. Yeba?
If I give you a copy of the contract, you wouldn't be asking that question. If a person looks in the wrong direction, never mind, disorderly, they get kicked out, they lose the whole membership value.
Okay.
We're very, if I may just talk a little bit about this here, we're very fussy. You have to go through a process where we notify, you have to have, references. If we're not happy with it, you don't come in. We've brought the club to another level. If anybody knows anybody that's members.
Yeah, I couldn't get in now.
I was gonna say, I was wondering why I haven't been approved yet.
There are no members.
Maybe I should go up, man. I'm gonna do
My application's still pending.
I guess my references didn't check out.
It's still pending, let's see what we can do. But, there are some strict rules that are put there. You're not allowed to bring in food, you're not allowed to bring in water, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. It is a
You're
little
like
stringent.
Disney, you just want to monopolize it,
It's like
that's
Disney.
why.
In fact, I said that, you did the other day.
No.
I said to my wife, well, it's like Walt Disney World over here.
Yeah.
The kids are running all over the place. There's another thing we missed here, and I might like to bring it. There are two senior people there. Paul Mayo, I don't know if you know him.
Yes.
And Dave Johnson, I don't
Yep.
know if you know him as well.
Sure.
They're on staff there, so one of them is there all the time.
Paul Mayo is the teacher over at Austin Prep.
That's correct.
Golf coach. Dave Johnson is our athletic director here in North
And
Reading.
that's also correct. And that's correct. Dave is working for, one of them are there all the time. So they're out beyond the office and they're out beyond the lifeguards. These are things that we added in, whether or not liquor was there or not. It's just to police the area, make sure there's no trouble, no problems, and making sure everything is kept the way it should be kept. But we're very stringent on rules there. Believe me, it's a 12-page document that you have to sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that clarification. So probably my last question is, you had mentioned an exception to that rule a few moments ago. You talked about events where people were at the pool so that they could, and you questioned it at that point, where they could tip, a glass of champagne, to toast the loving bride and groom. My question is, and I asked this question, North Resorts, members or guests of North Resort, but are event people going to be allowed to purchase liquor at the pool?
Mr. Yeba?
When you say event people, what do you mean by that? I'm not
So
confused.
you have a graduation event that's being held at the pavilion. You have a wedding that's being held at the pavilion. I mean, and I will say, for the record, if I may, I've had the opportunity I work for Raytheon Company. I've actually been at Thompson Country Club for many occasions. And I make two quick observations. The first, never was alcohol sold in the pool area. Never was alcohol actually sold in the pavilion area or provided in the pavilion area. So these are both significant changes. I also will add that I'm a skosh confused because at some previous meetings that you and I have been at, one of the questions was, can people remove, or will there be alcohol outside of the building? And in those cases when you spoke about it, you spoke about the fact that there would be no alcohol outside the building. And now tonight I'm coming and learning that not only are we going to be serving alcohol out in the pavilion area, which is right essentially in our backyards, but we're also going to be serving alcohol in the pool area, which is quite a bit different than what you indicated when you said for reasons. You gave us a lot of good reasons because of control and so forth, why you would never let people outside with alcohol. So I just want to say that our experience historically has not included these types of activities, which again, and I come back to the event piece because I was a part of a number of events there, and we've already talked about the 12-page Resorts North membership, which unfortunately I can't afford, so I never got to the 12 pages. I couldn't pay the $300 to get in, but just for the application fee, let alone the membership fee.
Special rate.
But
$300.
Well, that's what when I looked it up online, that was what it said, and when I saw what I said, I unfortunately can't afford that. But that's not really the point. The point is that 12-page document, in my mind, it becomes a point of control point for the organization in terms of enforcing the rules. If, however, you have a graduation party, you have a wedding party, you have a group that's coming into the pavilion that is going to be giving pool rights as well, now suddenly you have a group of people who have really no accountability to anything. And I'll be honest, when I was there with Raytheon, we were, I think, very well behaved, all things considered, but there was no downside risk to anybody in particular about what their behavior was while in terms of their drinking, their activities around the pool. And I will share, if indeed Mr. Yeba is going to allow that type of sale of alcohol, where you don't have the controls, you don't have the accountability piece for the people who are going to be using the alcohol. As an abutter, I have concerns, first of all, about what will be going on in the property. Quite frankly, looking at all of you, I would have the concern that for all of Mr. Yeba's and his team's best efforts, when you have a group of people who do not have accountability in terms of their use of those beverages, in terms of how they're behaving on that premises, I think that you have a very real problem and increased risk. And I
Can I answer this now before I forget everything you've asked me? First of all, one of the questions that you asked me is that, and it was very pointed when you asked me that. Will people from Grill 19 be able to go out to the pavilion? And what was I answer? The answer was no, and that is still the case. We don't want people going from the grill, going out to the pavilion. That's how I answered that question. Now,
let
me finish.
Okay.
Raytheon, I talked to the people, it was one of my larger accounts at the rent-a-car business. Did you know that? I dealt with Phillips himself. All right, but beside that, Raytheon's cheap, they didn't buy an open bar. So of course they had no liquor there. I have their contract. That was the reason why they never had liquor out there. The point of the matter is that we said, and we still stand on there, we're not allowing people to go to Grill 23. If you're familiar with it, there's a door that goes out to the private. That's gone. That door's there, but it's going to be, we have to keep it for fire, but it's going to be shut. We don't want people walking out the pavilion, in and out, in and out. We'll put a fire thing on it. So
Emergency exit.
Yeah, if you hit it, the alarm will go off, and we'll make it sound like it does anyways. So people do not go out there, and that's what he's talking about. We were very specific. No, we want to, if we do a function or we do an event out there, we are controlling the liquor by having a portable bar out there, whatever we have to do. We're seeing who we're feeding, we're seeing who's drinking, we're watching that. And the other token, he's correct. If they're coming into the Grill 23 and walking outside and wandering around, we have no control over that. It's correct, but that isn't what we're going to do, and I still stand on that. The pool, I'm not sure what happened with the pool. They can come down and buy a drink. I mean, it's only 50 feet away, and nurse it at the bar. That ain't gonna change anything there. That, we have a license to operate, that, I believe we still have a license. Maybe we won't want to walk out, but, you know, that we could operate, our bars there. You understand, the bar upstairs, the bar downstairs, and the bar in the function room. Those are bars that are out there to serve. But we were very, very, very pointed when we said, we don't want the people from Grill 19, our customers scratch that, Grill 23, Grill 19 rather, I wish it was 23. I wish, to be wandering out with drinks, out through the doors and out to the general area. We lose control. ABCC doesn't want us to do that as well. You have to stay confined. It's just like if you've been to Teresa's. There's a lobby area, people buy drinks. If you've been there on a Friday night, you know how miserable it is there. You have to wait, and people are buying, it stinks, all right? But that's one of the reasons why we're opening up North Reading. Sometimes you'll see people start to wander out the door, and we have people that back in. You can't do that. You can't take a glass of liquor and wander outside. That's what we're here today, to ask for specific areas that we can control to operate liquor. Simple, plain. Is our general customer base? A little bit at the pool, very little bit. We're talking about a 10-week window here. The pavilion as well, it's only a 10-week window, and it's over with. That's what we're talking about. I mean, we're not talking about anything more than that there. But you know, don't twist my words. I said I didn't want the liquor going out that door from Grill 19, and I stand on that today. I do not want anybody drinking, even going out for a cigarette. You can't do that. Unfortunately, you can't.
So they will also not be able to leave the pavilion area? For clarity's sake, Mr. Laney, could I get that clarification?
They shouldn't, no.
State, no.
No,
That's,
we'll hold them on the pavilion, because that's, wait a minute, what's happening, he's asking me a bunch of questions. The perimeter, the pavilion's pretty large, but the perimeter of that pavilion would be the same thing as being in the restaurant. It would be, if I'm saying that correctly.
So if they stepped outside the pavilion, you'd have staff to tell them they
push it
can't.
back on. You gotta stay within that, those areas. All right, again, the way this place is set up, it's kind of complicated the way things are, you understand? And they always serve liquor out there. That in the pavilion is factual, 110%. If you remember, one of the parties that was here turned around in front of this board, as well as the signing board and any other board we went to, spoke of parties that they were drinking out there. So that's a given. Now, we also said we would respect our neighbors because we want to be good neighbors. And besides, you can't stay out there much later than 8:30, 9 o'clock. If you remember on our last meeting, we were asked to block down times, and we said no, because we haven't done anything wrong. If we do something wrong, you guys are gonna come. I have to face you guys every single year. I have to face this city. I don't wanna do things that I have to worry about coming back to you guys and saying, well, we didn't do it right, or we jeopardizing. So we're always in control of this board and other town agencies. So to answer your question, no, they're not coming from the grill, they're going out there. And that's a concern.
and they're not going to leave the pavilion
They're not
area.
gonna leave a designated drinking area, and the pavilion would be, that's what we're asking for now.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So, and just for clarity's sake, I think it's been answered, but there will be children in the pool when they're serving alcohol. Okay.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
So,
Excuse me, you're talking about housewives that are looking to have a glass of wine. That's what you're having, this is what we're talking, we're not talking about a bunch of kids going out and drinking. We're talking about mature housewives and, mature men having a beer or possibly a glass of wine or a drink. We're not talking about fun times with a bunch of 21-year-old kids running around the pool popping beers. We don't do it at Teresa's, we're not doing it at Grill 19, we're not doing it at any place in that building. We're certainly not gonna do it at the pool.
may I just ask one question on that score? From a legal perspective, if I'm a 21-year-old and I walk up to the bar, do they have to serve me? So the bottom line is, I am so sorry about that. for all the things that Mr. Teresa intends, and I have no doubt that he intends it, the bottom line is anybody who is of legal age can buy liquor at that location. And furthermore, there is nothing other than for Mr. Yeba's conception of it, that would indicate that is indeed going to be the case.
But it has to be. Let me take a shot at it, and then I'll give you.
I'm sorry.
You're right. Anyone 21 or older can look to get served. But having been a member there previously and knowing how these clubs operate, what you're more apt to see is a parent of parents with smaller children. I doubt you're going to see a group of 21, 20-year-old, 22-year-old young men and women to go. I doubt you're going to see that.
With the exception that we have not established, or I believe we have established, that people who are participating as a part of an event, if they are given pool access, and I have not been told that people who are involved with events have pool access, that if it's a graduation, you could have a lot of 21-year-old people there. If it's a wedding, I will guarantee you have a lot of 21, 22-year-old people there. I'll
let Mr. Yeba answer that, but I think what he's talking about in that type of event, they're out there for like
Picture taking.
small period of time. They're not out there for
You're
4 or 5 hours or
you're
a
talking
wedding
a couple of
reception.
hours, but you missed another point. You go back to
I'm
the
sorry,
20
did he just say a couple of hours?
Not even, I mean, you're talking about short periods of time.
Well, you just said a couple of hours, so I'm
Yeah,
confused.
so a couple of hours.
Why
You'd have
would
an
it take a
event
couple hours? No, he's talking, okay, let me just,
He's talking about, you had mentioned when you first started off about having wedding photo out there and a toast. So
That's 20 minutes, that's what you're gonna get, but they won't even probably be that long. But there's another issue that I gotta come back to, because we keep on going over this. You're talking about, this is not open to kids coming off the street, you gotta be a member. And we can't discriminate against a member, but the member falls under the contract. So if a member turned around and, whether he's 21 or someone's son, and had more than 1 or 2 beers, and we felt he was overserved, we'll stop him. So again, you can't walk off the street and walk in there, whether you're 21 or 51, unless you're a member.
So I'll sit down happily if I am told that people who are there for a part of an event cannot purchase alcohol at the pool area. Very simply.
so if someone's there for a wedding.
I don't think you're going to get the answer of no.
And a graduation, and a party for a bat mitzvah, a bar mitzvah.
First of all, if I have a wedding or some sort of a special event that I'm looking to have there, I would certainly I wouldn't want to share the area with the pool, the pool area with the general membership populace, let's just put it that way. I would want a segregated area for my event, over here, do what we're gonna do for, picture taking, whatever it's gonna be, and then move into the function room, or move into the gorilla, wherever you're gonna have it. I don't know, and again, how often, or how is he going to allow, or, say, rent out the pool area and shut down the membership?
So, Mr. Leary, respectfully, when Raytheon was there, and I know we apparently were bargain basement in terms of our, although it never felt that way. But the bottom line is that they didn't actually close off the pool to the rest of the population, but they made the pool area, they made the whole facility available to Raytheon people as if we were, may I finish, please, without you raising your hand and trying to interrupt? Please.
Oh, gentlemen, please.
Please, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to speak, and you get it. We had access, but members also had access at the same time, and it was a great thing for us. If people wanted to come to the event and go swimming, they could go swimming. If they wanted to go to the event and play horseshoes or play tennis, they could do those things. If they wanted to do the driving range, they could do the driving range. We were not segregated. We did not close down the pool. We did not close down those areas, but they became common use areas. And so my question is, for all of their 12-page document, if it's going to, it's a very simple question, if Mr. Yeb and his team are going to open this up to event people, they are not under the same constraints as the person who has the 12-page document. And I have that concern. Your assumption was that they wouldn't be participating, but I believe that they very well could be. And my comment would be, if they are not under the same constraints, then the opportunities for something serious or things getting out of control there is definitely possible. I would add to this as well, and I sincerely believe that Mr. Yeba has the best intent, but I also live next door, and I know this morning being an excellent example. I was out with my dog at 6:45, and there was a crash bang as something was dropped over at Teresa's. And my understanding is that people shouldn't be doing construction work or shouldn't be dropping things or so forth. And this has been a consistent issue with the neighbors. This came up at the last several planning commission meetings. Mr. Yeba had indicated that he didn't know about it. I accept that. But yet this morning the same behavior continues. He has multiple establishments. He can't be everywhere at once. And I am very concerned that if you open this up, and especially where there are, in my mind, insufficient controls, that the outcome could be a very disappointing one for all of us.
His patrons that go into his restaurant are not subject to a...
I'm not suggesting that.
No, but just hear me out.
Certainly.
The patrons that go into his restaurant are not subject to a 12-page document.
Right.
The gentleman has said that he owns multiple locations where he hasn't had one issue in all the years he's been a proprietor of those establishments. So I think he has and will have sufficient controls, even if the area is opened to a party of sorts, whether it's a graduation party, a wedding, or so forth. So I don't see the 12-page document being the controlling factor here. And that's the controlling factor of those that want to become members.
Right.
But he hasn't had a problem in any other establishment, so I don't see...
So I respect your comment, but I would draw a few distinctions. First of all, I'm not talking about the restaurant right now.
I know you're not.
I'm
saying they're not...
I'm not talking about the restaurant, and I know we haven't had problems. I did not know, and I respect the fact that he has one other place that does have a pool associated with it. But, and I wouldn't know this unless Mr. Yeba specified it, but he discussed the situation where he can't even get into the pool area because he does not have access. So therefore, the people who are in there all are people who are at that hotel, are guests staying at that hotel, and can be in some way or other held accountable for their presence there because there's a key card to get in. I'm just quoting. Now, what we're saying in this case,
there's a the hotel. What are you talking
the hotel pool.
He owns.
When he used his example of his success
No,
model.
can I just say one thing?
Sure, absolutely.
I think you misunderstood. When he said he couldn't get in, he was talking about Thompson. He couldn't get in there because he didn't have his card with him.
Okay, so at the hotel, it is an open pool?
It's an open pool. Anybody can walk in.
Okay.
That's it. It's brand new, the Hilton at Logan Airport.
That's good to know.
So I would also highlight that this is a hotel at the Hilton Airport as opposed to in our community. And this board weren't the ones that were required to sign off on this. Right. And for what I'm perceiving as being potentially significant number of the patrons under the most, party atmosphere situations, which would be graduations, weddings, and so forth, where pool access may be given. Those are the situations that I think put people most at risk. And I think unless we get a commitment that it's only going to be for Resorts North members, I think that this board is putting, certainly our neighborhood as well as potentially the people in the area at risk for that. And I respectfully leave it to your judgment, but we'll also hold you accountable for that judgment. Thank you.
Herbert?
To Mr. Yeba, through you, Mr. Delaney, I have to assume that when somebody calls you up and wants a function, that there is a multi-page contract that specifies responsibilities and behaviors at that as well.
Did you hear the...
Yes, the answer is yes.
So the idea that there are no controls at a wedding or a graduation party or whatever else is bogus.
Of course it is. I just finished telling you, when you book a wedding or any kind of a function, you have to sign a contract that makes you totally, I'll go one further than that. You have to sign a contract. Any function signs a contract. You're responsible for damages, you're responsible for your guests. We take the right, I should be addressing you, sir, I'm sorry. We have the right to expel your guest if we feel that that guest is being rowdy, that for some reason they're doing drugs, anything that we feel, they're out. There's a contract. That's what you sign when you sign, and it's not only with us, it's with the Hilton, it's with Spinelli's, it's with the Ferncroft, it's with everybody. We all reserve the right, if we find out that there's a person in the party that's rowdy or not doing what they're supposed to, we notify the host and say, guess what? We're kicking we're kicking that person out of the party. So we have control. And I got there's one loose end here that you keep on coming back, and it seems like it's twisting, if I may address it. Well, it's just the answering. It's not. I don't want to debate it. But very simply, we get caught. We're not going to integrate our members if we do a quick venue there. We'll do the venue and be out, and that's it. We're not going to try to mix too many things together because it just isn't the right way. And our contract says we can do that to our members. If we're going to do something, we have to close something for an hour because they want to do a photo shoot. We have the right to close it down. They can do their toast. Then we get them out. We open it back up again. We control it at all times. It's another thing, too. You have to understand something. To get a liquor license in this world, it's next to impossible. It behooves me not to control, no matter what the costs are, because it's like a domino effect with the ABCC. You have a problem with one, they look at everything else. So you keep on saying control. That's incorrect. You have to control it in order to keep it. And if you don't, you're in trouble. One slip up, it only takes one. And there's another thing, all right? The liquor liability and the lawsuits that can come out of this here. I'd much rather sell a little less liquor and have everybody walk out without getting hurt. Because if something does happen, we're on the hook big time. So you gotta put everything where it belongs. And one other thing I gotta ask you. Now,
Mr. Yevon?
where our pool is,
Mr. Yevon.
one more, please, one more.
You can ask it through me, right?
All right. You live on Willis Drive. How far, you've got a good understanding of my property. How many yards or how many feet are you from my property, from that pool?
Honestly, don't know.
I do. It's over 1,200 feet. That's a big, long distance from where you live. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, there are a few things. First of all, one of the things that when I came by I picked up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the picture, it looks like there are 3 pools here, is that correct?
The one's the total is.
But there are 3 pools.
That's correct.
Yeah, I
Correct.
believe there's probably the toddler pool, there's a meat pool, and then there's the recreational.
So, and furthermore, I honestly don't know how many feet it is, but I will tell you that I hear pool noise, and I'm not complaining about this, but I hear pool noise all the time during the summer, during Thompson's. And quite frankly, you've had some people over there last, we hear them too. I don't know if it's just the acoustic effects, but one way or the other, it comes over. The other thing is, when we talk about feet, it's an interesting thing, just as not germane to this, but it was quoted a few minutes ago, so I will comment on it when Mr. Yeva says that the building is set 500 feet back from the street. It's actually 350 feet. I measured it the other day. So it is actually, it all depends. I guess the point I would like to make is it all depends where you're measuring it from. Bottom line is, I've been to many weddings. I'm sure you have been. Many cases there are 100, 200, 300 people there. And I'll come back to your very fair comment. And I don't think it's a bogus question, because when you have that number of people, control becomes a very challenging issue. And certainly the parents of the bride, who are off, wherever, are not necessarily going to be aware of what's going on. And I still come back, and I wish, Mr. Yeva, you would answer this with some clarity, and that is, are people at events going to be allowed to intermix with the regular members at the pool time, or will it always be closed off specifically for the event? May I ask that, Mr. Delaney, could you share that question with Mr. Yeva, please?
Yeva, can you answer that?
Are you saying, I think I just said it, we keep our members out, we close it down for that time, I just said that.
So
I just answered that
His
question.
answer was that it's closed down, that we know interaction between pool members and.
So there will never be an example like I gave with Raytheon where it was opened simultaneously to both members as well as event people.
Well, I must say, it's a different ownership.
I'm understanding, but I'm just asking for clarity of the question. And just for clarity, never will the twain meet. Is that the answer that we've got?
I would think so.
That's not a clear answer.
No, I don't see necessarily the relevance. I mean, if they so choose to do so, you know, people will either like it or not like it, and come back and do business with them or not. You know, the memberships will like it or not like it, and either renew or not renew. You know, he's an experienced businessman. He thinks he has a business plan that's going to work in a model. You know, never say never. I mean, I can't see him ever say never. I wouldn't expect that he'd say never say never. You know, the question that we have as a board is, first of all, you know, as far as accountability, we also hold them accountable every year. If there's an intrusion into the neighborhood and it's disruptive and it's a public disturbance, if there are incidences where people are getting overserved or left there, we're going to be notified by the district attorney's office, ABCC, and our local constabulary will take care of it too. We have the means to call a show cause hearing partway through the year to either suspend or revoke the license or to keep them in check, you know, should things get out of hand. That's part of the controls that are in place from a local licensing standpoint that, you know, we take very seriously every year with every liquor establishment that we have in town. Fortunately, knock on wood, we haven't had too many incidences in the past few years, but in years past, we have sat here and had show cause hearings, revoked the licenses, or suspended the licenses for a period of time of different establishments because of what's taken place there. And, you know, as Mr. Yeva pointed out, you don't want to get in the crosshairs of the local community, never mind the ABCC, particularly if you have multiple licenses. If you get in the crosshairs of the ABCC and you have multiple licenses, there's no doubt there's additional scrutiny placed upon your business establishments. So, you know, whether Raytheon's there and has free run of the free access, you know, that's a business decision that he has to make and make sure the controls are in place so that, you know, nothing's being violated as far as the local ordinances and the usage of the property. And try and keep his membership happy at the same time. You know, it's a fine balance, but that's a business decision he has to make. I'm not going to tell him how to run his business, but I'm going to tell him what my expectations are. I'm going to tell him what I think, you know, how my expectation is in relation to how the business is going to be run in relation to the rest of the community. And the proof is going to be in the pudding. And every year it comes up for renewal, and if sometime during the course of the year he runs astray, runs afoul of the board that we think something needs to be dealt with, we'll have a show cause here and call him in here. Be a free-for-all. And we've had them in the past.
Something quick.
Oh, good.
Mr. Ford?
Personally, Mr. Yeva, I don't know why you'd want to have liquor there, only because it's, like you said, the amount you're going to serve there, it may not be worth your headache. But I understand your membership may be interested in trying it. You try it for a summer, see how it goes. But the problem is the responsibility is all on him if it's approved. And, you know, my parents owned a small business, a restaurant that served liquor, and sometimes you ask for too much. And again, it's on him. He may come back next year or when we, you know, at the end of this year and say, I don't want it anymore. So I think, you know, he knows what he's doing. He's a successful businessman. He's not going to put himself in a position where he's going to cause himself any problems, in my opinion, anyway. So again, it's up, you know, it's before us. We'll make the decision, but if it's approved, it's his responsibility and his headache.
And again, we've had local liquor establishments here that have had beer and wine licenses and given them up because it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the liability, it wasn't worth the policing, it wasn't worth the effort, and they decided they didn't want to have it anymore. And they're still in business today here. They don't have, gave it up. So the business decisions that they have to make, we have the responsibility to make sure that they're policed and they're looked at and maintain order. And if they don't, we call them in and we take appropriate action.
Anything further?
I appreciate the clarification. I happen to agree with the point that I think, although it wouldn't be my decision, but considering everything that Mr. Yeva so eloquently said about the risks involved, to try to put this in at a pool as a part of a 24-acre facility, which is certainly significantly outside of the scope that any of us really are that familiar with, I think is going to build in risk that shouldn't be there. I do fear the fact that there's going to be alcohol around a pool. I understand that you're talking about this as a business model decision, but it can be much more than that if somebody actually gets hurt there. And I'm just raising my hand and saying that I fear that because there aren't going to be, and I know that Mr. Yeva does not want me to use the word controls, but because of the fact that we're not being willing to make the clear delineations between when and when not people can be there, I would also argue the case that if you have people at the pool who both are members and non-members at the same time, it makes it particularly difficult for the staff to make close calls on those decisions because they can't differentiate.
I don't think it would matter.
I don't think
If someone was
matters.
misbehaving, weren't abiding by the rules, as Mr. Yeva pointed out, they would be asked to leave.
But in the case of the
So
member,
it doesn't
the member
matter.
understands that the person who's just a party goer isn't going to
It's
have
like
the
any
same.
other wedding or
They'll
event that takes
They'll
place.
still be removed. And I must tell you, there's always been alcohol down at that pool, whether it's been sanctioned
Or
by
brought in
this,
on their own.
by this
Well, the difference is,
board or served of certain, I gotta tell you, I know for a fact, there's always been alcohol down at that pool, even though there may not have been a license down there. And I think it's much harder to police if you're not actually serving it than if you have a license to serve it down there. And quite honestly, I agree with Mr. Yeber. I think someone's going down there to have a cold beer in the afternoon, while the kids are swimming, or mother's making out and have a drink while the kids are in the pool. It's not a place where they're gonna sit there. It's not a resort in the resort type of sense that they're down in the Caribbean somewhere, and they're sitting there to drink all day. They'd have a drink or two maybe at most. That's what I envision down there if the license is granted to them.
and again, you're describing the people who are a part of Resorts North, not the event goers.
Fair enough.
So, thank you. I appreciate your patience.
No, thank you, thanks for coming in, we appreciate it. I'm just gonna, one last thing, I'm gonna be honest with you, when I looked at this, I was actually leaning, I think it's a bad idea, and I was leaning against it, but I'm looking at 260 certified letters that went out, and to have, two people come here
Three.
opposed,
There's three.
three, sorry. We got more people here complaining about the signs and the lights than we did about whether the fact there was gonna be liquor served at the pool.
We also point out that, and I have no idea what the score is, and I'm sad I don't, but there are a lot of people who are right now at the Stanley Cup.
It's 1-0, by the way, Bruins.
Well,
Get to the second.
But I would say this, regardless of what's going on elsewhere tonight.
Yeah.
If this was a major issue for
I don't
you,
mean to throw.
that you had great concerns about, as you did, you took time out of your night to come down here, your concerns about Mr. Yeva possibly getting a license to serve alcohol at the pool, you wouldn't be here if you were objecting to it, like you did. You took the time out and voiced your concern. And I appreciate that.
Service bar.
But,
I agree.
at least for one, I'm gonna vote in favor of granting him this license. He'll be back the end of the year. He has, as he says, 10 weeks, and he's taking the risk if we grant it.
Again, one of my questions, Mr. Chairman, was, again, it's gonna be service bar only at the pool area in particular, which is key to me, I'm not looking for your tiki bar and,
Right.
or bar stools, in the pool area. I don't think that mixes well, I don't think that's the right formula, whether it be a business model or not. So you satisfactorily answered that. As far as the pavilion area, I know that there's been alcohol consumed out in the pavilion area in years past also, by myself. I wasn't out there by myself, but a lot of other people.
But not served.
No, you went inside, you brought it out.
It's only one
Okay,
door.
there's one door. You went inside, brought it out.
Which he's not going to do.
Right,
Which he's
that
not
door's
going to do,
locked.
which to me is somewhat heartening as far as controlling things, special events, gonna use pavilion for that. The 19th hole is the 19th hole. I think he has proven himself to be fairly successful, not fairly, very successful in operating other establishments. He has a reputation to maintain. I'm hopeful that it will continue to be maintained as well as it has to this point. And, at this point, I'm inclined to support, what's being proposed right now. But again, revisit it every year. And if there are problems, I'd be the first one to make the motion to rescind a portion of it, if not all of it.
Who's here?
I think we're very fortunate to have a person like Mr. Yeva who has taken on this venture rather than some other potential buyer of the property. And I say that because of the depth of experience he has and the reputation that he has, and just the thought of, when he talks about having 5 lifeguards, you know, at times when I was a member, and that goes back quite a while ago, and it was only when our kids were growing up, that, you know, I don't recall seeing more than 1 lifeguard on duty. Maybe I don't remember, but, you know, I think that this gentleman, with the experience that he has, he's bringing a lot to the table, and I think we should be grateful that a facility isn't going to go into rubble, and the neighborhood should be happy of that too, and full support of granting the license.
And what should give you, I'm sorry, are you done? What should give you comfort, it dovetails what Mr. Mosseri just said, he's invested a lot, invested a lot of money here. He's got a lot at risk, so I think he's gonna be more on guard here than probably some of his other places because of what he has on the line in terms of what he's had to come up with in terms of purchasing the property, rehabbing the property, wanting to make this a go, which I hope he's very successful at. So he's got a lot at risk before we even get to the point of granting this additional license to serve alcohol at the pool. So given that, that's another reason why I'm going to vote in favor of it. So, and unless there's anything else, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Mr. Fode, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve an alteration of premises for the common victular all alcohol license for the Yeber Group LLC DBA Teresa's Prime Grill 19, 20 Elm Street, North Reading, Mass., subject to all all regulatory department requirements.
Second.
Motion and a second.
And this is for, again, this is for change of premises in relation to,
The liquor license to be,
do we have, how many other motions do we have?
this is just the, this is the pledge.
I don't know if this covers it.
That's why I'm asking. It
It
seems,
says alteration, but it doesn't say what the alteration is. Should I just add the alteration for?
No, it's really a change in the license.
alteration and expansion of,
An alteration, the ABCC considers it an alteration of premises, you're altering the description of the.
But I think we should have it, I think we need to put it in here what it is, my opinion. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I would.
just want to point out that on the petition for change of license that gets submitted to the ABCC, there is a description of what the alteration is.
So.
Can you read that?
Yes,
Mr.
I
Valiakonis?
read it as follows. Interior renovation of existing ballroom, dining room, and grill room, maintaining the same general layout of the interior space, seeking to include outdoor covered pavilion, patio area, locked and gated pool area adjacent to licensed premises as part thereof.
We also
Yes.
appended that to the, that's also part of the description of license.
Buildings and grounds located at 20 Elm Street, North Reading, consisting of ballroom, grill room, restaurant together with adjacent covered pavilion. Certainly.
As stated in.
Does it say the pool area? I didn't hear pool in that. I heard
Yeah, it
pool in
says-
the
They
other.
get through it, yes.
Okay. I would just make it part of the motion
yeah, let me
itself.
see. Second. Let's see.
So I can just include that.
And just, just add specifically, that specifically, and then just say specifically.
Okay, so
That's,
Yeah.
I'm going to reword the motion, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve an alteration of premises for the common victular all alcohol license for Yeber Group LLC DBA Teresa's Prime Grill 19, 20 Elm Street, North Reading, Mass., subject to all regulatory department requirements as follows. The buildings and grounds located at 20 Elm Street, North Reading, Mass., consisting of a ballroom, grill room, and restaurant together with the adjacent covered pavilion and patio areas with a total occupancy of 360 persons and seating for 202 persons, totaling approximately 28,392 square feet, as well as the adjacent enclosed pool area with occupancy of 50 persons and seating for 40 persons, totaling approximately 20,275 square feet.
second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, 1 absent. Best of luck.
You still got the
Oh,
pledge,
oh, yeah, one
still got
more.
your pledge of license. It's gonna take another.
Yeah, we
it's
may
gonna
not, we may not grant the pledge, then you have problems. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a pledge of license for the common victual all alcohol license for Yeba LLC DBA Teresa's Prime Grill 19, 20 Elm Street, North Reading, Mass. To the Institution for Savings, 93 State Street, Newburyport, Mass. 01950.
Second.
Motion,
I-
second.
I thought it was North Shore Bank.
The original was North Shore Bank, but this is pledges to Institution for Savings. North Shore Bank has released their pledge.
Okay. Just what I heard this
No,
morning.
you are correct.
Anything further? Here we go. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, 1 absent. Motion passed. We're good. I don't know if you're good, but we're good.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you again.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, look forward to the opening.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, yes, we'll let you know, and we won't disappoint you. We won't. We'll make sure it's right. Thank you so
Sure you
very
will.
much.
Take care. Okay. I think that gets us to old and new business. Mr. O'Leary?
Just one matter, that this week I was privileged as liaison to attend the appreciation breakfast, at the senior center. Mrs. Prenny, last few years, has been able to, through a grant, from the grant, fund a breakfast for those people who have volunteered hundreds, if not thousands of hours towards the activities at the senior center, everything from the Meals on Wheels program to counseling, to income tax preparation, to Medicare counseling, all sorts of services, exercise programs, which we would never have been able to afford through the budgetary process. Of course, when I go there to these things every year, I get reminded that, we have, while they appreciate all the support that the board shows over the years, they could always use some more, monetary support. And therefore would require less in the way of volunteer hours. But truly, we would not enjoy the level of services for our seniors without those volunteers, and it's a wonderful thing that Mrs. Prenny is able to show her appreciation at least once a year to these people by serving them a breakfast up at Hillview. So it's great to be there and represent the board, and I extended our appreciation to them and encourage them to continue their volunteerism. So that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foley?
Yeah, first off, I want to congratulate all the graduates of North Reading High School. I was very impressed by the listing of schools that they were all moving on to, that they did a great job, and the valedictorian speeches were phenomenal, so I thought they did a great job. I wanted to also congratulate all the organizers for the Relay for Life on the weekend of May 31st. Very well attended, and this is the first year my daughter was able to spend the night, and so they had a great time. Today, the Horseshoe and the Lee family sponsored their annual golf tournament to benefit the Jimmy Fund, and it was in honor of Ms. Ameno, who was a longtime resident of North Reading, who passed away this past year of cancer. So I want to commend the Horseshoe and the Lee family for putting on, once again, a wonderful tournament and raising money for a great cause. Lastly, just a reminder that effective July 1st, the new trash regulations go into effect, and there's a 3-barrel limit. And so hopefully people will abide by that, and that will result in additional recycling. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's some more information there you want to provide, but that's all right. You stole my time.
No, you can.
That's okay.
Just one other thing that I forgot to mention.
Back to you, Mr. O'Leary.
Just one other thing was
Were you
the.
done,
Hurry
Mr.
before they
Foley?
get a shot.
No, the 4th of July committee is still looking for volunteers for that long weekend in order to assist with the activities that are transpiring. So if you have some time that you can spare to assist them with the activities, please contact them through the website and or through Town Hall. They could use all the help they can get. So
I think their website is something like Bring Back the 4th.
yeah, bring back the 4th, but actually do it through the town administrator's office so they can put them in contact. So they looking for assistance and looking for help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Until I
Mr.
say
O'Leary.
something
I
else.
just want to publicly thank Senator Taft for inviting us into the State House, Mike Prisco, myself, and Police Chief Murphy, regarding trying to get some additional funding for the community impact team. And we got a grant last year, and based on the state budget process, it's been difficult to get money, but I told him that I would gladly come to the State House at a moment's notice if it would help. And I got an invitation email, saying this time available at 2:30 the following day. So I had to scramble to get our CIT members in, and we went in.
More than a moment.
And we made a very good presentation of what we accomplished and what we had planned on doing. And he basically committed to get some parties together within 3 or 4 weeks and have us come in and make another formal presentation, thinking that we could get pieces of money from different organizations. So he's taken it upon himself to help us out in that area. And again, I want to thank him for going all out to help us out there. As you're all aware, the community impact team has made a fairly sizable impact on the community. And, our subcommittees are in place, and not all of them, but a number of them, and a number of the programs that have been put in place, and we've helped fund some of the programs that have taken place at the school. We're sponsoring National Night Out on August 6th. I think it's going to be from 5:30 to 8:30 at the park. And I'll have more news to talk about in the coming weeks. And lastly, summer is upon us on the 20th, I believe, and the board usually goes into kind of a more informal dress for the summer. I wondered if the board was
Yes, you can
too
shed the-
interested in doing that for the summer or
You can
not.
do so. Sure.
I would get home early enough. But take the tie off anyway.
So we
That's
will.
all I have.
Start summer dress code as of next meeting. All right. Mr. Fode stole my
Sorry.
thunder, so, but that's all right. So I have nothing, so that gets us out of here earlier. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So adjourn.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, 1 absent.
Still 1-0?